Hello, and welcome back to the Spoiler Cast, the show where we talk about movies. We don't care about spoiling them because it's the Spoiler Cast, you know. And my name is Tobias, and with me as always is my sister and trusty co-host Rebecca.
Hello.
Hello. And today, as you can clearly judge from the pictures, or if you're not watching this, you're listening to this on any of the major podcast platforms that you can hear us on. You can hear it from the music. We are talking about Scream, and not just Scream 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. We're talking about the entire franchise, starting with number 1, and I guess we're going to talk a little bit about number 5 in the end.
Yes. We might even mention other adaptations, I suppose.
Yeah, there was a
'Cause
TV show, but I never watched that one. I'll just say that right off the bat.
Well, I did,
Okay.
and I just heard a rumor that apparently it's coming back for another season.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
A rumor, though, so I don't know.
Yeah, because I saw something about that, because I've been looking a lot at Scream on IMDb lately. I've been rewatching all the movies, like, in the last 2 days.
Oh, yes, me too.
Because we said we were gonna do. Oh, we should do the Scream franchise. We said that like on Sunday, and we record this on Thursday. So it's like, we should have enough time. I mean, I have enough time at the moment, but I mean, you clearly had enough time because you've seen them all, right?
I saw the first one on Monday, I think, and then I saw 2, 3, 4 today.
Okay, Jesus. I saw.
I mean, I've seen them so many times, so I just had to casually watch them.
Oh, sure,
to
yeah.
remember details and order of stuff. Because to be honest, number 3 kind of escapes my mind from time to time.
Yes, we'll get to that. I'd say the third one is kind of the black sheep of the franchise, but we'll get to that. However,
Yes.
let's start with Scream.
Yes.
The first one, the original, the
1996.
the 1996 horror movie, or I guess more accurately, slasher horror movie.
It's marked as a horror mystery on
Well,
IMDb, but I don't know if they have slasher on IMDb.
No, but it is definitely a slasher. I mean,
yes.
It builds upon the legacy of Halloween and Friday the 13th and the prom night movies and all the slasher movies. Nightmare on Elm Street, of course, since it's Wes Craven who's directing this.
We even have a Freddy lookalike, not Freddy. What's his name?
Freddy Krueger, yeah.
Yeah, Freddy, a lookalike cameo.
It's not just
by Wes Craven.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not just a lookalike. It's Wes Craven doing Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
Or Fred, the janitor.
Yes.
Yeah, it came out in 96. So I was about 6, because it was it was December 96. I was technically 7.
Think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was 2.
I remember they released this around Christmas. I don't remember. I read this. I don't remember it. Because usually around the holidays they release family movies. So families have something to watch over the holidays. Which is pretty accurate, because not the only time, but usually when we all 4 as a family go to watch a movie is around Christmas or New Year's Eve.
Yeah,
we'll pick a movie and watch
it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I guess that's a thing families do.
Probably.
But the production company was like, well, what do horror fans have to watch around this time? Nothing. So let's release a horror movie at Christmas. And they did. And at first they thought it was gonna flop because it didn't do well. It started it hit number 4 on the box office, and they were like, shit. But then it kept playing, and it eventually made like $170 million worldwide, which doesn't sound like a lot now, but in '96 for a horror movie, whew, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. And I mean, over time, this franchise has probably made a lot of money.
Money. I mean, and it's become a cult classic, and not because the movies are bad. It's just because it's become a cult classic because of all the meta qualities of this franchise. But let's talk a little bit more about the first one. When did you see it for the first time? Do you remember that?
I have no idea. if I'm being honest. I mean, considering how when I'm born,
Yeah.
I probably didn't see it until like maybe when the third one came out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were still only what 6 when when the third one
Yeah,
came out, so
but I mean, I did watch horror and all kind of bloody action when I was about 6, so
maybe I don't know.
that's your fault.
Yeah, because I don't remember when the first one came out. What I do remember is when the sequel was made, because then I was a little older because it came out less than a year after the first one, which is
Yes.
insane. Um, and I remember people started talking about it because we were hanging out with some people in school who were like a year or two older, so they were talking about horror movies and stuff, and they mentioned Scream. And I know we saw pictures like in movie magazines and stuff. So I think I became aware of the movies around Scream 2. And I do remember the trailers for Scream 3. And I remember it looking almost like an action movie. There were explosions and people running
Yeah,
around. But I don't think I watched a Scream movie until like a couple of years after the third one. I remember
probably when
watching
I saw it then.
Yeah, I remember watching Scary Movie, which came out in 2000, the same year as Scream 3.
Right.
Um, and I probably watched that in like 2001 because that's when my future, well, now current, but then my future best friend moved in across the street, and they had a
Yes.
lot of movies. They almost bought the newest movie, so we saw Scary Movie and was like ha ha ha, and like I think that made me more aware of, oh, this is a joke version or whatever. I didn't know what a spoof was.
Yeah.
A spoof or a joke version of Scream. And I think we watched Scream shortly thereafter.
I
Um,
mean,
and then
considering
and then
again when I
during
was born,
yeah
I must have seen it just after you saw it because you probably or when you bought it or something.
yeah. Well, I bought it. I own the first 3 on DVD. I have
Yeah.
an old DVD, the Scream trilogy box, pretty crappy box. That was I think it was released around the time of the third one to kind of like celebrate the third one or cash in on the third one.
Or
But
probably like a year or so after the premiere.
yeah, and I think I bought it like a few years later, so maybe 2005.
Maybe that's when I saw it then.
Yeah. Um. But I saw the first and I think I saw the second one on TV. Obviously, they were showing the first and second one when the third one came out in the cinemas. So that's probably
Yeah.
when I caught a glimpse or two of it for the first time. But I don't actually remember watching it properly for the first time. It's so long ago.
Same.
And I was pretty young when I saw it.
I do remember the first time I saw the fourth one.
Oh yes,
Do
well,
you remember that
I
movie
remember that.
experience?
I remember that experience, that cinema experience. But we'll get to that.
Yes. Yes.
But we're rambling on here. What do you remember? Do you remember? Maybe not the first time, but do you remember what you thought of the movie like early on?
I remember that I've always liked it.
Okay,
Like, I don't know if it's from the first time I saw it, but I can't remember a time when I didn't like it.
yeah,
Or, like, considered it one of my absolute favorites.
yeah.
In general, to be honest.
We've been talking a lot about Scream just before the trailer came out for the fifth one. We've been talking a lot
Yeah,
about Scream like off air, but I think also we mentioned it on the podcast.
probably.
They're I mean, they're not like my favorites, but I do revisit, especially the first and second one, often, more often than I do other movies. Um, and I think it's just because they're very well made movies.
They're very well made.
Yeah.
Even the third one, though it's not the best,
Uh,
it's still pretty well made.
the third one has different qualities,
Yeah.
but
I think it's the script that's a bit strange, but it's
yes, oh
still
yes,
well made.
yeah. The third one really banks hard on the meta commentary.
Yes.
Like not just that all the characters in the movie, oh, they know horror movies and they know horror movie cliches. It's even like
Ooh.
making fun of the earlier Scream movies and making
Yeah.
fun of the actors playing the characters
Yeah.
of the actor. It's layers of irony and meta commentary that almost like ruins the movie for me. It's too
Oh, I kind of
much.
like that.
Um, but the first movie.
First movie.
Yes, we all know the
Yes.
story.
Yes.
Yes, Nev Campbell plays Sydney Prescott, who a year before the movie starts lost her mother in a savage, brutal murder. And now
Yes.
on the anniversary of her mother's death, two
So another kid
two
is,
two
well, a
new
kid.
kids are
Oh
murdered.
yeah, two. I always forget the boyfriend.
He's gutted.
True, true.
um, and connections are pretty quickly made to Sidney Prescott's mother's murder, Maureen Prescott.
Yes.
And throughout the movie, we try to figure out who's done it, and that's pretty much it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
who
it's
done
a
it and
simple
trying to
story.
escape it, kind of.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple story. Um, it's just told in a very meta style. The entire movie is very aware of horror movies and the fact that they're literally in a horror movie situation. Even some of the characters who aren't like movie geeks are like, they're aware that this is very movie-esque, filmish,
Yes. And I think that's what I liked about it the
Yeah,
first time. I can remember, like, what I liked about it. The
that
whole, like, sitting in and trying to discuss what's happening and who's doing it,
yeah.
and like, is it? See, I've seen them all back to back now, so they're kind of melting together in certain points. Which one is it when they're sitting in class and talking about horror movies? Is that the
That's
first one or the second
no,
one?
that's
That's
the
the
second one
second.
because they're talking
Right,
about
yes, the second one.
sequels.
True, true. Right, yes. But we have Randy rambling on about the rules of horror films, and
Yes.
I think even Sydney says at one point to the killer, like, well, they're always dumb and running up the stairs.
Yeah, because she doesn't like horror movies. It's always some
Yeah,
big-breasted bimbo running up the stairs, so she should be running out the door, calling the cops.
exactly.
Yeah. Very funny because moments later she's attacked by the murderer and she runs upstairs.
Well, because he comes through the front door.
Well,
She
sure,
can't go
but
that
I
way.
mean, still.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be kind of ironic, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely like it's once again it's commentary on what you do in a
Yeah,
horror movie. Um,
exactly.
but what's kind of funny is that there aren't too many for a slasher movie. There aren't too many killings, and
No,
they're not very inventive. If you look at like some of the later, especially Friday the 13th movies, they were trying to come up with like exciting ways to kill your victims. In this one, everyone is stabbed except for um, the blonde one, Tatum.
Tatum?
Tatum, played by the girl who kind of
What's
went
her
crazy
name?
later on. I don't remember.
Oh no, I know her. I know of her.
Yeah, she was in
Rose
Charmed.
McGowan.
Rose
McGowan?
McGowan.
Or is
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
She gets, I guess she gets her neck broken in a garage
Or
door.
her back, sort of, I think.
Yeah. Either
She's
way.
like going through the doggy door and then, yeah.
Yeah. Everyone else gets stabbed.
But it's because the killer is supposed to be human, not in like in every other horror film where the killer is more or less superhuman somehow.
Oh, sure. No, yeah. It's just a person killing people.
Yeah,
And he's just,
which
I
is
guess it's just to stab them.
another quality I like about this one. They're not trying to make the murderer special somehow. It's
No,
just another
yeah.
human.
It grounds it in reality, even though it sticks to movie rules, which is
Yeah,
interesting. Um, but it's
just
all.
like drawing a comparison because we've been watching a lot of the Halloween movies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Michael Myers is supposed to be human, but then he cannot die.
Yeah, because he's
So
evil
that kind of
incarnate.
yeah, so that kind of ruins it. While this one has actually human people being the murderers, which helps. It makes it real, and I like it.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of who the murderer is, I mean the first one is. I mean all of them are over 10 years old now. But do we want to spoil? I should we avoid spoilers as much as possible? I mean this is a spoiler cast, but this is the whole franchise is all about who is the killer and who is it this time. I guess
Mm,
before we go too far into it, should we?
Are we able to?
Let's say
Because
this. We will try. We'll say this. We will try to avoid spoilers, but be warned. This is the spoiler cast, so we might
yes.
mention who the killers are and twists and turns and stuff. That we'll say
Because
that.
you kind of have to mention it, sort of, to talk about why it's not the same in the sequels.
Yes, yes, of course.
Yeah.
So,
So,
we'll try to avoid it, but be warned. We are going to spoil stuff.
as usual.
Yes, yes.
That is the point of this podcast.
That is the point. Yeah. What I find the most interesting, and I think why, especially the first and second movie, I suppose, have survived as long as they have. Because I mean, when you think of Scream, the ones you think of are the first and second one.
Basically.
Yeah, even though the other ones are good, it's not like, oh yeah, Scream 4. No, you think of Scream and Scream 2.
Yeah.
And I think why they have survived is because when they came out. Now, this is, of course, you got to take this with a grain of salt. I haven't done any research really other than just what I remember and know from, living through the times. But it came out in 96, and at that time, horror movies, like big mainstream horror movies, were basically like dead. No one watched horror movies anymore because they all sucked. I mean, there are, of course, indie horror movies, and there are always exceptions, but in general, the horror craze had really started in the early 80s, or if you want to, late 70s, with Halloween. And then, of course, Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street all came out in the early 80s. And you had the ginormous slasher boom during the 80s, where you had all the sequels for those movies. You had the Hellraiser movies came out in the latter half of the 80s. And I mean, you had all the random ones. You had Silent Night, Deadly Night. You had Black Christmas. You had what else? I don't know. I mean, you had all the
bunch of
all the
horror.
all the shitty Italian exploitation movies that came out in the 80s, but that were still, being watched. Maybe not by the mainstream audience, but still it was all really culminating in the 80s, and we had so much of it, and everyone wanted to cash in on the My Bloody Valentine, another actually good slasher that came out in the 80s.
Yeah, the horror craze kind of died out till when it hit the 90s, I think.
Yeah, because, throughout the 80s, you had all the quote-unquote good ones. Because even though the sequels kind of suck, they're still fun. But towards the end of the 80s, we recently watched Halloween 4. We had Halloween 4.
Yeah.
We had the third and fourth Hellraiser, which is, I guess, technically 90s, but we had the later Jason Goes to Hell, early 90s. I mean, it was dying out in the 80s, and when the 90s hit, it was just like that's when you got Halloween 6 came out in 95, I think, just a year before Scream. It was just nobody wanted to watch horror anymore because they were just trying to live off the accolades of the 80s.
Yeah.
And you kind of needed a fresh start. And that's when we got Scream, which reinvigorated the horror genre, the mainstream horror genre, because it was a movie about people stuck in a horror movie, literally. Not literally, but figuratively. But they weren't really afraid because horror movies suck anyway. Who cares?
Yeah, they were all aware of horror films are just boring, and we know what's gonna happen basically.
Yeah, and I mean they had grown up since they're in high school in '96. They grew up on the plethora of '80s horror movies. That's why Randy knows all the rules, and the rules have become so cliche because every movie followed the same formula.
Yeah.
So it created this. I mean, it's almost the first time. Not really, but once again, for general audiences, it's like the first time people realize that horror movies are bad, but we can poke fun at them, and that's what
Yeah.
Scream does. It pokes fun at horror movies while being an effective horror movie.
Also being kind of scary because you have it's based on real people again. Like
Well, it's not
shit
based
can
on
happen.
real people.
No, but I mean, like, it's always real. It's humans. It's not
Yes,
monsters.
it's not
So
monsters or yeah.
it's adding that terrifying detail that shit can happen.
Yeah.
Even though it's just a normal town and it could be your whatever being a killer.
Yeah, and also that the movie starts out with the murder of Casey and Steven, or Steve. Drew Barrymore and whoever played Steve, he's in one scene.
Yeah.
And we actually get to know her, even though she's only in the opening of the movie, which was kind of like clickbait advertising almost, because she was in all the posters, and Drew Barrymore was still a
she's
big
the
name
face.
from her child acting days. But she's only there for like the cold open. But we still get to know her as a character, and it takes like 10 minutes before they kill her,
Like that,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah,
She's even one of the big names on the poster.
yeah, I know. And the white poster, the face is
Yeah,
her
that's
face.
her face.
Yeah. And when she dies, it's not like, yeah, woohoo, they killed the stupid bimbo. Like, it's actually kind of horrible, because it's prolonged. She's like, you can hear her suffering. Her parents find her gutted corpse hanging from a tree.
Yeah.
And you're like, it was just like, this is a different kind of slasher movie. It's not just going to be stupid characters we hate that are dying. It's characters that are actual people dying.
Yeah.
So immediately it sets that precedent as well. And that's why we have kind of few victims, because a lot of the movie is us getting to know the characters and then actually being worried that they're gonna die.
Yeah, because in total, I think we have, with those two in the cold open, it's
Steve.
like 5.
It's Principal Himbry.
Oh right, I forgot him.
There's
Then it's
it's
Tatum,
no one,
right?
Yeah, it's no one else. Yeah, it's the party. It's Tatum, and I guess Billy and Stu. 6 people.
So 6 people, yeah.
Yeah. And a couple
Which,
of
sure, that's
and one we think dies, but who comes back in the sequel.
Yeah.
Well, no, you see him on the stretcher. Sorry, you see Deputy Dewey. They roll him out on a stretcher, so he survives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Randy almost dies as well.
Oh yeah, Randy.
Do we see him come back, or do we see him in the sequel?
No, he gets up like, oh my god, what happened?
Oh right, that's true.
After Billy shoots him.
Right.
Spoilers. There we go.
Well,
we just said it. It's Billy and Stu.
You could have gotten away with it. You know that, right?
Yeah, I
Because
guess.
everyone suspects everyone. That's also one of the fun things about this movie.
Yes, and that's why.
Not the first time. I had no clue.
No.
I mean, of course they do set it up that it's supposed to be the boyfriend, because it looks very sketchy when he shows up all of a sudden.
Yes.
But then they release him, and you're like, what?
Well,
no,
yeah,
it's not him. Who
he
is
had an
it?
alibi. His phone records were clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So who is it?
there are so
Oh,
many.
I love it.
There are so many red herrings in this, which is
Yeah.
the point of the movie. I
Yeah.
mean, there are some that are like very like in your face. Like they even say when Randy is talking about everyone's a suspect, and Billy's like, well, that includes you. Of course.
Yeah.
So you have Randy, the insane movie guy who loves horror movies. You have the boyfriend.
You have her father, who's not answering his phone.
Yeah, who's
and
mysteriously
he's out
gone.
of town,
Yeah.
apparently.
Right when all this goes down, he's gone.
But he never checked into the hotel, so who knows?
Yeah. You also have there are of course that one's dispelled pretty quickly, but even the principal is supposed to be a red herring. Because he is threatening the two students who buys the same kind of ghost face mask.
Yeah.
He threatens them with a huge pair of scissors, and I know
And
that
he's
was
like, says he's gonna kill them or something.
If I wasn't the principal, I would have gutted you just like Casey and
Right,
Steve or
yeah.
whatever. But then
Then we have-
they kill him off pretty quickly.
Yeah. We also have Cotton.
Cotton, yeah, who is at this time the
Imprisoned for the
imprisoned
murder of
for
her
the murder of
mother.
Maureen Prescott. Yeah,
Yeah.
because Cindy, I almost said Sydney. Sydney's from Scary Movie. Sydney
Right. She identified him as the
identified him.
killer.
Yes, yes. I hate using the word fingered because that means something, but
Yeah.
you can actually finger someone for a crime. Either way.
Yes, but she identified him because she
Yes.
saw his coat and it was bloody,
Yeah.
and she
And
saw him wear. Well, she saw someone living in it, and
yeah.
obviously, as a teenager, she's gonna assume it's him. Who else
Yeah,
would
and
wear his coat?
he admitted to having an affair with Maureen,
Yeah.
Sydney's mother. So yeah, and then, I mean, even they even implicate the sheriff. The he's barely in the movie. He's the balding guy who smokes in a scene where Dewey is eating an
Yeah.
ice cream and they're talking about
Yeah. I
where's
love that scene.
Tatum and Sydney. Yeah,
I love that scene
yeah,
because
because the
Dewey's
sheriff is
eating
trying to be
as
cool.
if he's
Yeah,
smoking. I
the
don't know.
sheriff is not being cool, but I mean, nah, I'm smoking, I'm having a cigarette, I'm talking
He
about.
looks
It's supposed to look
kind of
cool,
cool.
and Dewey's supposed to be the doofus deputy, so he's eating an
Yeah.
ice cream instead.
It looks like he's mimicking the smoking with an ice
Yeah.
cream instead. It's
Yeah.
so funny. And I love that. Because I think I saw Scary Movie before I saw Scream as well.
Yeah,
So in my head, he has always been Deputy Doofy.
yeah. Hello. Yeah, the full on
Doofy,
retard
though.
in the yeah. I mean, that's why they did him like that in Scary
Yeah.
Movie. But the sheriff, when he puts out the cigarette, they zoom in on his shoes, and he's wearing the kind of black boots that the murderer is
Oh
wearing.
yeah, true.
That is to like say, could it be him?
Right.
I mean, it's just that one little thing, but it was literally put in there
Yeah.
to make him a red herring.
I mean, they make everyone except Sydney a red herring, basically. I think even Gail at one point is sort of suspect.
Yeah, because she wants to, sensationalize the news.
Yeah.
Sure. But then, of course, it's not the one we expected the least, but the actual plot that the two murderers are putting together is just so, like, it's so well thought out. I mean, it wouldn't have worked.
It's kind of out there, but it's very well thought out.
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked ultimately because of
No.
fingerprints and tape residue on the father, and it wouldn't have worked. But for the movie, it's like they really thought about this.
Yeah, that's a mistake they do in all movies, all of the movies. The killer wipes down the gun, but they never put it in the hand of the person who's supposed to be the killer.
Yeah.
Like, you never put the right fingerprints on. Why would they suspect that person then?
Yeah, I
You
don't know.
need to put the fingerprints on it.
Yeah,
But I don't know if that's supposed to be like, because they're human, they make a mistake.
I don't know.
Or if that's just a slip up in general.
And it's always, they always get foiled anyway, so we never see
Yeah.
the cops actually having to investigate it.
No, that's true.
But what's also kind of funny about the movie, because it's about an hour and 50, I think, or an hour 46 or something.
Hour 51
yeah.
IMDb.
And the movie really consists of like 3 or 4 big sequences with a couple of connecting scenes in between. Because you have the Stephen Casey murder.
Yes.
You have then the connecting scene with Billy and Sydney in her bedroom.
Yeah.
After that, it's the first day of school, where
When they find out.
And then you have the connecting. Well, then you have the first attempt on Sydney's life, which is sort of a shorter scene, and then you have the second day in school, which is also kind of a shorter connecting scene where Billy comes back and I'm innocent, and he shows his hand covered in ink. And after that, it's really just the party. The rest of the movie is the party.
Because that's the day when the principal says, after like half the day, that school's closed, there's curfew, everyone go home.
And when everyone leaves, he's murdered.
Yeah, and then that's when
Stu?
What's the friend's name? Stu, Matthew
Lillard.
Love it.
Yes.
When he we can have a party.
Yeah.
And then the party is the third act.
It's kind of funny because since the movie is an hour 50, After the hour mark, the rest of the movie takes place at that party. It's like 45 minutes long, and it's all one party scene.
Which
But a lot of
looks
stuff
like a pretty
happens.
boring party.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
They put on a horror film. They're drinking a bit.
yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because there is a curfew. So I
Yeah.
mean, what is that, like 8 or 9 or something?
I think they said 9.
Yeah. And since these are just like high school kids, they're still in like their mid-teens basically. So a lot of them around curfew just decide to go home. Like they leave a party at 9.
And also, like, the party probably starts because I'm guessing the school closes down at like lunch. It seems.
Yeah, because they only do half a day basically.
Yeah. So then, the party probably starts at like 1 or 2, and you don't want to party for too long,
Well,
especially
yeah.
not if you're a high school kid.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. Ain't partying pretty long. Either way, yeah. So most of the people leave around 9, and they're like
Yeah.
some like what are like 10 people in the living room, and then Billy, Sydney, and then Gail shows up.
Yeah.
With
Dewey is
Deputy
outside.
Dewey. Yeah, and that's about
And
it.
the cameraman.
Yeah. So they
Oh,
mostly
he
just hang
dies.
out. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's
The
one more. 7
cameraman.
people. 7
7
people.
people.
But then we have, but since even though like half the movie is that party, but there's so much stuff going on. It's almost like it's like a little microcosm of the entire movie taking place in that house, which is kind of fun.
Also, we see Tatum's murder
Yeah.
way before anyone realizes she's dead.
Oh yeah. She
That happens.
she dies pretty early on in the party,
Yeah, like soon after, just
right
before
around when
everyone
people
starts
leave.
leaving, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then no one notices that until Sydney's
S-
actually getting out of the house.
Sydney's running around being chased by the
Yeah, which is
murderer.
like close towards the end of
Yeah.
the whole act, I
Yeah,
think.
she discovers Tatum's body hanging there, all bloody.
Which is also a neat detail. I like that.
Yeah.
We know that she's dead, but no one else knows. And someone says it like once, "Where's Tatum?" I don't know. And then
Yeah,
they
Stuart's
just let
like,
it
I don't
go.
know, she went to get some beer, but I don't know where she is. I think she's
Yeah.
upstairs. And it's kind of fun because when you don't know who it is, you're just like, where is this going? But when you
Yeah.
know who it is, that's why this movie, even though it's all built around twists and turns, it still has rewatch value because you can see
Yeah.
the machinations of Stu and Billy's plan. Like all
Yeah.
this is according to plan. The party is not like they I mean they couldn't know that there was going to be a curfew and that the school would close down. But I mean it's
No, but
obvious that
they
they were
would
going to throw a party to get all the people involved in one place. And have Billy show up even though he shouldn't be there, and them actually reconciling their love, even though
Right.
she first suspects him of being the killer, just
Yeah,
to
that's part of the whole fleshing out and making that act so much longer. Because you have a whole scene where they're just talking about shit and getting together, hooking up.
yeah, and that
That
is
also
all just
adds,
to make him look innocent,
yeah,
because then he is quote unquote stabbed.
yes,
So but then of course it's fake. That's another thing that would never hold up, like when the police would investigate it, because his shirt, first of all, he has fake stab wounds in his shirt, and while he does later stab himself or get stabbed by Stu to make it look real, his shirt is still covered in corn syrup fake blood. How will he
yeah,
explain that?
yeah. I don't
Like,
know.
yeah, we found a lot of blood on your shirt, obviously, but you're also covered in red corn syrup. Can you explain this? Oh, I don't know, man. I was baking and yeah,
Someone spilled it on me.
yeah. I don't know. That's one detail that I actually hadn't thought about before watching it this time.
I I have one thing that I probably thought about it before, but I've never looked it up.
Yeah.
Why do they kill Drew Barrymore's character and her boyfriend?
Well, they give us like
There is
no, there is. I mean, because they're obviously they're sick in the head. First of all,
yeah,
um,
duh.
but
I
also
prefer psychotic.
Yes. And they do explain that they just took what's it called,
Uh,
the opportunity, because
oh,
the opportunity to just kill people they don't like. So Stu used to date Casey, but
right.
he was dumped for Steve. So why while
That's
we're
a
at
bit
it,
of
why not kill them?
revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it also like it amps up the whole scare factor, which is obviously what they kind of want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It throws off that they would be doing it because no one would connect them really.
Yeah. And I mean, they're in high school. Who doesn't want to kill their principal?
Sure.
Yeah. And after that, it's Sydney. They really want to kill. Everyone else is just to get rid of
They're
evidence, basically.
yeah, they're in the way.
Yeah. And killing Sydney is because Billy is upset about Sydney's mother
His
having an affair with his father, breaking up
make
his home, basically, and
yeah, and
having
his mother leaving
yeah,
him.
just leaving them. Yeah. So he's got mommy issues. That's why.
Yeah,
And Stu is just
and
yeah, because he think it's he's almost more insane, like, because he just thinks it's a fun idea, and I get to kill people I don't like.
he just wants to stab people.
Yeah. So that's why, but they also say, like, oh, it's the new millennia. We don't need motives, but obviously he has motives.
Yeah,
Um,
he probably was sick of Tatum as well. To be honest,
yeah,
he just wanted to get rid of her. I think
yeah, probably.
they don't seem to have the most loving relationship, from what little we see.
Yeah, yeah. But then, yeah, so and that's the most exciting part of the movie, when it's revealed that Billy and Stu are the murderers, and
Yeah.
just how they explain how their whole plan was set in motion, and them starting to stab each other, like, it's so insane, but it's so cool.
Yeah, I love the whole when Stu's getting like, man, I'm getting drowsy here.
Yeah,
Stab me too deep or something, and then he
cut me
like
too
gets the
deep, feeling a woozy here.
yeah, and then Billy throws the phone at his head, which was apparently a mistake,
Yeah,
but they
it
kept
wasn't
it,
supposed to hit him, and he just said, "Hey, you hit me in the head, you dick," and just kept it.
and
Yeah.
they just yeah, perfect, run with
Same
it.
thing when he talks to Sydney on the phone, and he says, "Did you really call the cops?" And, you bet your ass I did. And he's like, "Oh, my mom and dad's gonna be so mad." That was an ad lib.
Yeah, he's
And
great that way.
yes, let's talk about Matthew Lillard, who
Love him.
I think Randy is a fan favorite. I love Randy as a character,
Yeah,
but Stu is
Stu
my
is
favorite.
oh yes,
And it's a thing. I really like Matthew Lillard as an actor.
yeah.
He has unfortunately not done a lot. Um, he should have been in more stuff, but I think because he has a tendency to overact.
Yes.
He does in this a lot. There's a lot of tongue acting in this movie, and laughing and saying weird things when they're in the video store. He's like, I don't remember exactly what he's been like. Oh, okay. When he's talking to Randy. And I think that's why people are like, no, he's overacting. We can't really have him in a normal role. Because I know there's the same thing. There's a horrible Uwe Boll movie called A Dungeon Siege Tale, based on the game Dungeon Siege, where he plays like the snaky Prince John character, basically, and
Okay.
he is chewing this scenery, like, just eating it up, while everyone else is just a flat line. So he's definitely overacting, but he makes that fun. He's the only good thing about that movie. That's a terrible movie.
It's the same. We mentioned that when we talked about She's All That.
Yeah.
His character is supposed to be over the top, but I think he's the only actor who could actually play that.
Yes, and he should play to his strengths like that. I wish he was in more stuff. There's like one of his fans of his always talk about the movie SLC Punk, where he isn't that.
I've
I haven't
started
seen that
popping up
one.
on YouTube as a recommendation, like
Yeah,
random clips from it.
I haven't seen the one, but I want to see the one because he's a little more reined in, and it's like
Yeah.
his big like starring role, really. I mean, unless you count the Scooby Doo movies, but he's just one of
Yes.
5 characters there. But I really love Matthew Lillard, and he is definitely the big bright shining light in this movie. I wish we got more with him. I kind of wish he was in more of the movies. It wouldn't work, but
I mean, they apparently had like ideas of bringing him back
yeah,
for
that
the
he
sequel.
survived and he was orchestrating the murders from
Yeah,
prison. Which I don't know.
and
He's stupid. He wouldn't be able to do
yeah,
that. He's
he
not the
probably wouldn't
brains
be
of the
able to do that.
organization.
No, but I mean, I've seen him and Skeet Ulrich. Ulrich, how do you say that? Ulrich.
Ulrich.
They've been doing interviews for the new Scream.
Yeah, I read an interview with them, or a short like
Piece.
blurb piece from an interview. Yeah, about Skeet Ulrich apparently haven't seen any of the sequels. He's
Okay.
like, nah, whatever. Yeah, some actors are like that. They're like, I don't watch movies because I work in them. It's like, don't you become an actor because you love movies? I don't know.
Yeah, but I know other actors who definitely can't watch their own things.
Oh yeah,
'Cause they're like, it's
I
so
guess
weird
that's
watching myself.
I guess that's most actors
That's
really. Yeah.
actually kind of
'Cause when
true.
you-
I can even watch our own episodes because I think
Well,
that's
it's because
weird.
you've lived through it, and if you're
Yeah.
like a starring role or something, you're usually involved in the editing, even though you don't get to make choices. But you watch
Yeah.
like 60,000 edits of the movie. So like by the time it actually premieres, you've seen it like 300 times already. So it's like, I don't
Yeah.
watch it anymore. So I get that.
Sure.
But it's still like, come on, you man, you're Billy Loomis. You didn't watch Scream? Matthew Lillard had though.
Good. Good.
Yeah. But that's I think we should move on because we've
Yeah,
been talking
'cause then
40 minutes about the
year
first
after
one.
this, we
Yeah.
have Scream 2.
Well, let me just quickly,
Which-
since we're talking about so
Huh?
many movies, we don't
Yes.
usually do this, but what would you say on a scale of 1 to 10? What is Scream 1?
I mean, as I wrote on our Instagram post, this is probably one of my absolute favorite movie franchises in general.
Yeah.
And it's mainly because of Scream 1, and to be fair, Scream 4. Actually, I really like that one.
Yeah.
So this is it's almost a perfect movie according to me.
Okay.
At least the first one.
So a 9 out of 10 maybe?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
Probably. Something like that.
I looked it up on IMDb. I'd given it an 8 many years ago, and I stick to that. It's an 8. 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's barely anything to complain about.
No, some flaws in
Like,
their plan, but I guess that's the
Sure.
point.
That's the thing. It's supposed to be a flawed plan because they're just kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the movie works. Everything they do, there's not a plot hole in the movie, to be honest.
No,
Because
no, there
everything
isn't.
can be
Yeah.
more or less explained,
Yeah, that's
especially
true.
once we learn about their plan.
Yeah. Um,
No, it's
it's very good.
top tier for
But
me.
then we move on to Scream 2, which, like we
Yes.
said, came out less than a year after the first one, which is
Mhm.
usually not a good sign,
No, but in
because that
this
means
one,
they just rushed the sequel to make more money. Thing is
This
though
one
that
worked.
yes, because Kevin Williamson, who wrote the first 2 movies and the fourth one, and is he involved in the fifth one? I don't know.
I haven't looked it up.
But he wrote the first 2 ones. He created the TV show, and he wrote the fourth one. Either way, he already had plans for a second one when he wrote the first one. So like, if they let me make a second one, I have like an outline already. So he just started working on it, because plans to make the sequel were like put in effect like almost immediately after the premiere of the first one. Because when they started making money, they were like, yeah, we need a sequel. So I think they started pre-production 6 months after the premiere of the first one.
This one is, like they mention in the sequel, that usually the sequels are inferior.
Yes, there's the whole discussion about sequels.
Yeah. Try and mention a greater sequel. I think they end up on like The Godfather, which
Which
I haven't
I don't agree.
seen them properly, so I don't know.
The first one is better. The second, you know what the second is? It's long. That's what that one movie is. They also mentioned Terminator 2, which I also think is inferior to the first one, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. But it's not better.
Yeah.
And I have to agree. This one isn't better.
It's
but
not better.
Very much deserved to be there.
Oh,
It
yeah.
doesn't ruin anything. It doesn't dilute the story or the characters. It just adds.
It adds to the characters, yes. And it builds in a realistic way. Like this is characters kind of like they did with a lot of the not a lot, but the numerous soft reboots of Halloween. This one builds on people surviving a horrific situation like this, and kind of going through the trauma, and trying to come out as as better people, basically. Um, and it's fun to see, like, it's not just, oh no, it's happening again, like they're talking about it like something they experienced. I mean, when Dewey is talking to Rand after the first murders, when they kill off Jada Pinkett Smith and
what's his name?
what's his name? Mekhi Phifer? No, Omar Epps. Sorry, Omar
Omar
Epps.
Epps, yeah.
When they're killed off, and Dewey shows up at college, because that's kind of funny. Usually in movies like this, they're made like a few years later, but it's supposed to take place 1 year later. This was made 6 months after the first one, but it takes place 2 years later.
Yeah.
That's a reversal that we don't usually see.
True. But it's kind of good, though, because it helps.
Yes.
It doesn't make it look like the characters are too old to
Exactly.
be where they are.
Yeah, it makes sense that they're in college.
Yeah, it looks good instead.
Yeah. But
Randy just added like goatee and like, sure, he's 2 years older. Perfect.
Yeah. But Dewey shows up, and there's the scene in the cafe with Randy when they're talking about sequel rules.
Yeah.
Because once again, it's very meta, because it's not only the sequel to Scream, these are sequel murders, because the murders are like they're following the same pattern as the murders in the first movie.
But I have to, before we go further, the opening scene to the sequel, to this one, is even better than this opening scene to the first one.
You think?
I love the movie theater thing. Especially after experiencing the fourth movie.
Sure, yeah.
It's
there were no murders. There were no murders in our theater, but the rest was pretty accurate.
But I love the whole, because it did embody like the emotion of it all, and you had the whole excitement.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it worked, and I loved it. Though I still don't understand why those two people were killed specifically, but I'm guessing it's because, the killer in this one's motive is just to do it.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, we don't really get a motivation other than Jada Pinkett Smith's character, whatever her name is.
Did we get a name? Maureen,
yeah. She is in some of the classes of Sydney. And I think oh, there it is. I mean, I said Maureen, yeah. I think she was supposed to be in the same sorority as the other girl, Hallie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so. Funny thing again, Maureen is on the poster, not Hallie.
yeah. Because Jada Pinkett Smith is a bankable name, so they put her on the poster.
Her name even on the poster.
Yeah.
She's second to last.
Yeah.
Even Sarah Michelle Gellar gets on the poster, even though she's like barely in the movie, I think.
Yeah, well, she was becoming a big star because of Buffy, which she was shooting at the same time.
She's like in 2 scenes, which of one she dies, I think.
Yeah. But what the second one does well is that it builds upon the first one.
Yes.
In every conceivable way. Even though you think, like, how are they going to explain a new ghost-faced murder in this one? It's just like, it feels like anything they're going to pick is going to feel too far-fetched. But I gotta say, I think they did a good job. It's and it's also one that breaks with the like to talk about the breaks with the rules. It's not like some intricate 90s kind of murder story like in the first one. No, it's like she says, Mrs. Loomis, Billy's mother, turns out to be one of the killers. It's just good old-fashioned 80s revenge.
Yeah.
She wants to kill Sydney because she killed Billy, her son.
Yeah. And I love the details in this one where in this one they hint at the fact that there's 2 killers much more freely than in the first one. You have the first scene, which is a very weak hint, but it is a hint, when Phil goes to the bathroom in the theater.
Yeah.
There's 2 guys standing at the urinal with ghost face masks, and they're both turning around and looking at him.
Oh, sure.
That's like the first time very subtle hint, but you only get it if you've seen it before.
Yeah.
But then you have the whole scene where Sarah Michelle Gellar is talking on the phone with the killer,
Oh
and you
yeah.
see one of them walking into the house, but she's
That's
still
right.
talking to someone.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, oh shit, there has to be more than one.
That's also
Love it.
even more like meta fun, because in the first movie you have this the first time they attack Sydney, it's obvious that she lets them in when she walks out on the front porch.
Yes.
They were saying they're in the house, but they only said that so they can actually get into the house. In the second one,
Yeah.
we see the same tactic being used, and we see the murder getting into the house because she opens the
Exactly.
door. Yeah.
So good.
So now it's just not meta when it comes to horror movie rules. It's meta about how the murders did it in the first movie.
Exactly. So
Um,
they're copycat killers that are actually mimicking the murders, not just how they kill people like stabbing, but how they planned out the murders as
yeah,
well.
and
So
ultimately
good.
that is Mrs. Loomis's plan, because she's going to blame it on Mickey, the
Yeah,
the crazy teen who she like hires
basically.
to stalk Sydney at college. Um,
And a fun thing about it that you won't notice it the first time you're watching it, and honestly, I didn't notice it until like this time I watched it. Mickey's filming everything.
oh yeah, yeah, that's supposed to be a
He's
well, not a red herring. It's supposed to be a hint, a clue.
Yeah, it never was for me. Even though like I reacted to the fact that he's filming everything, but it's like
He's a film
I
student.
never, I never made a connection that oh he's doing it for a reason.
No, yeah, but we do later see when they're watching through the news
Yeah,
coverage footage that someone has been filming from other angles.
yeah.
Oh, so
But I never like oh it's him until like this time I think, and I've lost count, but I must have seen the first two at least 10 times.
yeah, I think so as well over the years. Um, the this one though, the first one has scenes that I don't like. We'll get
Sure.
to that when we talk more generally about the movies. But the second one has um the whole theater angle to the thing, that Sydney is
Yeah.
studying acting, I suppose. Um,
Yes.
and the whole when they're rehearsing the Fall of Troy, the play they're rehearsing.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's supposed to be college theater, so yeah, it's gonna be a little pretentious and a little overdone. But it's just,
Yeah.
that scene sucks. It's so.
It
It is
doesn't really add anything.
no, and it's just to have the Ghostface killer run around in a
Make
brown hooded
Yeah,
suit.
and to make Sydney terrified, basically
Yeah,
scared that they're actually after her.
I don't know. I don't like that it takes place on a stage with fake lightning, and it's too much. It's too what it is. It's too theatrical.
Yes. And I mean, to be honest, the second movie is 2 hours long.
Yes, which is
It
also
doesn't
rare
feel
for a
like
horror
it
movie.
doesn't feel like it's 2 hours long though.
No, because it's kind of as the first one. There's like
There's no lull moments.
no, there are like I don't know. I haven't counted this one, but there's like a few big scenes with connecting scenes in the middle.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, because again, you have the ending is sure she runs around a bit,
the ending is
but the end
shorter.
is
Yeah,
still a third
but it's
act,
still
even
yeah.
though it takes place over like I think it's 2 or 3 places.
Yeah, yeah. It starts with the car, and then she's running across the campus,
Campus, and she
and
ends
for
up in the
some reason
theater.
ends up in the theater, which is
Yeah,
very
but
lucky. I
someone
mean,
has turned on the music, and
yeah, I
she's
know.
like,
So she reacts to the
"Why?"
music. Yeah, I know. But that's a little bit. I would not run towards music. I would run towards campus security,
Just or
because
cops in
we
general.
know. Yeah, but we know there's like literal like campus cops. Go
Yeah,
there
because they
instead.
mentioned them a bunch of times. Like, call the campus security and
Yeah,
just get them.
I don't
And
know.
I mean, it we have so many different main characters almost in this one. Even because in the first one, Sydney is obviously the main character, and I mean she is that in all the movies.
Yeah,
But in this one, we have more set pieces centered around other characters.
yeah,
We
that
have Randy and Dewey going off on their own. We have Dewey and Gail going off on their own
yeah.
more. We
Especially those
have
three
yeah,
have their own like big scenes, and of course Sarah Michelle Gellar in the middle of the movie.
yeah, a very random. scene. But again, it doesn't feel redundant, really.
No, no, no.
It still works.
That
Like, sure,
is
if you really had to cut something, you could cut a couple of things, but you don't have to.
no, no, not
They
not
all
really.
kind of.
It never lulls. It never loses the pacing. It's very well made.
Yes.
The only reasons I don't give it as high because when I was younger I thought the second one was better. I don't anymore. But I can understand
For a
why
while as well.
I can understand why I liked it more because it is a very good movie.
Yeah.
Um, but the only detriments to it is the fact that it is a sequel. It's a
Yes.
little more ridiculous how much the killer gets away with.
Yeah.
Like the whole when the cops are when the cops crash, how he survives that
Yeah.
because it is Mickey because he has the bruise on his forehead later in
Hmm.
the end of the movie. It's just like, wait a minute, how did this happen?
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
mean, it's a very. I love that scene, but it is a bit ridiculous.
yeah, um,
Because in this one, they're starting to make the killer almost invincible,
yeah, which
or a bit more invincible at least, which
yeah,
they even amp up in the third one even more.
yeah,
So
because it has to be more. It is a sequel, so it's supposed to surpass the original.
yeah,
With more kills, more creative kills, more
I
blood
mean,
and
you do
gore.
do get a few more kills, I think.
I think so. Yeah, two in the beginning. You have Sarah Michelle Gellar. Uh, you have
Wait, yeah. Hallie dies.
Hallie dies.
A cop, at least,
Two
because the
cops.
guy. Oh right, there's two cops that
Two
die.
cops. The boyfriend Jerry and
Boyfriend. Is his
Jerry.
name Jerry?
Isn't it Jerry? I'm pretty sure it's Jerry.
Wait, where is he? What? Wait. Why can't I
Why isn't
find
he?
the boyfriend?
Why isn't he in the top cast? He's in the entire movie.
Wait, hold on.
What?
What the hell?
Why is he not in the top?
Cotton's
No, sorry.
Cotton's interview
The
is
actor is Jerry O'Connell. Sorry, he plays Derek.
right. Yes.
Yeah, he gets shot, and then of course the two killers. So that's 9.
9.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
two more.
Yeah.
And once again, fake out Randy kill. Again, gets
Yes.
stabbed in the literally the same spot.
Oh
'Cause
wait, Randy.
oh,
Isn't the
sorry,
fake out.
Dewey. Dewey.
Randy
Randy. Oh,
dies, doesn't
right.
he? Oh, 10.
Randy. 10. Yes. Randy dies an hour into the movie, which I'm very uh,
Wait. I actually don't remember. How did he die? I
it's
watched it today. Why don't I remember it?
it's when the killer calls Gail and they give the phone to Randy. It's like keep him on the phone, and Dewey
They
and
walk
Gail
around
start
trying
running
to
around trying to
find.
find who was talking to him because they can. He says, "I can see you," so they
Oh
know he's
yeah.
somewhere on the campus like grounds. And they talk about
Right.
the movie rules and how you're the geek, you're never gonna get the girl, and he gets upset when they say that.
Yeah.
And then he's pulled into the news van and gets murdered.
Right. Right. And then while he's being murdered, 3 white dudes with a boombox walks
Walk past,
by,
yeah, so no one will
like
hear
sort
the
of
murder.
dancing, so no
Yeah,
one hears. Yeah.
yeah.
Stupid.
Um, and I yeah, like I said, I really love Randy. He's my favorite character in the second movie because we don't have Stu in the second
Yes.
movie. So on one hand, it sucks that he dies that early. Um,
Yeah.
and
But it
it
would
just
be kind of weird to have him reappear in the third one because we can't have two characters that always survive the same stab wounds.
no, and also it since none of the main characters, no, Tatum is a main character, but like of the surviving main characters, no one dies. So not in the second one, except for
Yeah.
Randy. You need to kill off one of the main characters to up the stakes. Like, wait, are you gonna kill more main cast then?
Yeah.
No one's really safe in this one because they killed Randy. Might as well kill Dewey. Might as well kill
Yeah.
Gail. I think that's also why they kill off Hallie in this one because she is a main cast up until she dies.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Best friend.
yeah.
Much like
So
Tatum.
yeah, exactly. She's the Tatum character. So I like it because of that. And I know Jamie Kennedy has said that as well. Like, it's a good thing that Randy gets killed off, even though he really liked playing that character. um,
Yeah.
and at the same time, having him come back for a third one might, since he's more of like an outlandish character, it might have, especially if it's going to take place in Hollywood, which the third one does.
Yeah.
I don't know how, I think it's good he didn't come back for the third one. I honestly would have appreciated it if he survived and he's just not in the third one. It sucks that he dies, but I also understand that he had to die.
Apparently, there was a thought
Yeah.
or one version of the script where they wrote that he survived. His family like took
Nursed
him
him
in
back
and
to
hid
health
it.
in
Yeah, they
secret
like
for some
hid
reason.
him
Yeah.
for some reason, just for him to like turn up in the third one, basically like he does,
Yes,
but
because
in real life instead.
yeah, and that's
Instead,
that's
they bring
that's just bad.
his sister, which we know he had a sister?
I
They
don't
don't
know.
mention that.
I don't think, maybe they mention her in passing, but I don't know. I don't think so.
No, I don't think they do. That's why they introduce her the way they do in 3,
Yeah,
which I mean, it's okay. It's fine.
it's
She's only
fine.
there to be a
She's just there
messenger,
to,
and
yeah,
he's only there to explain the rules, much like he's done in the first and the second.
exactly.
It's fine.
So
Even
yeah,
though technically you wouldn't have to have him do it because you're in Hollywood. You would have people who know that shit.
but that's the thing, and we'll get to that because I think we're gonna wrap up the second
Yeah,
one
we're
here.
we're segueing into 3 now.
Yeah. So just what would you rate the second one? Scale from 1 to 10.
I mean, if I gave the first one 9, I'm gonna give this like an 8
Yeah, I did the same
or
thing.
like a 7 maybe.
Yeah, I gave the first one an 8. This I put it as a 7 on IMDb.
Yeah, because
Very
it's
good,
still
but
very
it's
good.
very
It
good, but
is, however,
it
still
is
a
a
sequel.
sequel, so it's not as
But I
good.
think it's one of the very few sequels that I don't mind.
Oh sure, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but then we move on to the third one. This time
Yes.
they took a little time. It came out
It's
3 years after the second one.
yes.
And we haven't talked a lot about it, but we should talk about it now. The Cotton Weary side plot, because this one starts
Yeah.
with Cotton Weary, who in the first one he doesn't have any lines. We only see him on TV once, I think, which is
Yeah,
kind
and
of funny
like
that it is Liev Schreiber, because even back then I think he was still like a known actor.
I'm thinking they had in mind that they would bring him back if they made a sequel.
Yeah, well, obviously Kevin Williamson had plans for a sequel, so
Yeah, so like he
he's
he
probably going to
had
be in
like
that one.
I want to bring him in
Yeah,
because in the sequel he's out of prison. Obviously, we know that people have admitted to the murders, and
yeah.
Sydney can like go back on her initial
Accusation.
accusations.
Yeah,
So he's free,
he's
but now
free.
he's been robbed of a couple of years, and he wants to bank on this happening.
Yeah, he wants to take advantage of the fact that he was for a while there a convicted murderer. So
Yeah, or
he wants to
wrongly
be
accused.
wrongly accused. Yeah, wrongly convicted. He wants to be in the limelight. He wants to make money off of this, which is, you know, kind of scummy. Because maybe you just want to live your life, but
It's a weird.
he's supposed to be the anti Sydney who just wants
Yeah,
to go on with her life, and he loves being in the on stage, so to
limelight.
speak, the limelight. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so he shows up here and there in the second one. Gail tries to
because
get an interview between him and
yeah,
Sydney early on, and
he knows that he's not gonna get the interviews he wants and the money and the fame he wants unless Sydney's in on it,
yeah,
because she is the leading
yeah,
lady.
she's the leading
No
lady.
matter how you
Yeah.
put it, he's never gonna be the main character.
So he shows up here and there, and I mean, in the end, he kind of saves the day, which is
He does.
if I mean, yeah, he does. Even though it seems
He
like,
literally
oh,
does.
is he going to kill Sydney?
I mean, there
Ooh.
is a point in the second where when Dewey and Gale are in the school, I think they are trying to
Yeah.
watch the videotapes. He does show up there looking like the killer, and we have the whole scene in the library where he like pulls Sydney aside and he
Yes,
looks the killer. Is looking very suspicious.
he is. Yeah, he is in the sequel as a red herring first and
Yes.
foremost.
But
Um,
then
But then
towards the end,
he shoots
he
the
gets
murderer. He
gets
shoots Debbie Salt
he
or
gets
Mrs.
the
Loomis.
choice: become the hero or become the killer.
Yeah, and he
And he chooses the hero,
yeah,
obviously.
and the movie ends with him being instead of people going after Sydney interviewing her like, "Well, what happened? How does it feel?" They talk to him because she's like,
Well,
"Well,
yeah.
you should talk to the real hero."
And I mean,
So,
he only saves her because she agrees to go on
well, yeah, and I mean,
Diane Sawyer with him.
and I think it's also to show that ultimately, deep down inside, he is a good guy, even though
Yes,
he's opportunistic.
very.
But the third one then opens up with him now having capitalized on his fame. He has his own talk show. He is negotiating to get he's because he has a cameo in the new Stab movie, Stab 3.
Yes.
We don't know what happened to Stab 2, but Stab 3 is in production.
Yeah. I think Stab 2 is the only one we never see.
Yeah, I think so. We see Stab. What is we
We
see
see Stab
Stab
1
in the first one. We see Stab 3 in the third movie, and in the fourth one we see Stab
4, 5,
five,
and
six.
6? Or 5, 6,
I
7?
think 5, 6, and 7. Yeah, because they mentioned
Yeah.
Stab 7 in the end. Either way, yeah. So he's negotiating like I don't want less than $1 million, which like for a cameo, Jesus Christ.
And he's also talking like scripts to be in movies, other
Oh,
movies.
sure, yeah, yeah.
So he
But
wants money.
yeah,
And he's got money. He's living kind of luxurious.
yeah. He has
He's got a
a nice
nice
apartment
house, nice car,
in Hollywood. Yeah,
got a gorgeous girlfriend.
yeah.
I don't remember the actress,
She's
but I
Helen,
recognize
isn't it? No, not Helen. Is it Jessica?
no, Kelly Rutherford, Christine.
Christine. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, that's the cold open of the third one.
Yeah,
Killing Christine
killing
and
off
Cotton.
Cotton.
Yeah, I think sort of to not have him be a red herring in this one,
Yes,
and because he if you count what little he is in the third one, it is this subplot that they don't really take the time to finish properly.
no,
That could have been
and I
its
mean I
own movie in and
understand.
of itself.
Yeah, because I can understand why. In the first one, he's merely mentioned as the killer of her mother, but as soon as we know who the killers are, he's what's it called? Exonerated? Whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolved.
And
I'd say.
absolved, yeah. Um so we don't really have a reason to have him around. The way they write him in the second movie works, definitely, but he doesn't really serve a purpose except for then obviously the end.
No.
Everything in between, he's just a red herring. He's just another one that could be the killer.
Yeah, but I mean,
He's
the way he is written in the first movie is that there are still doubts whether or not he actually did it. Gale don't think he did it, and they do discuss him like a lot in the first movie. And she's like,
yeah, because
"Where is this
Gale's
going?"
main.
Because he never shows up in the first movie, and then when he shows up in the second one, it's kind of like, "Oh, you what?" And I
Yeah,
guess he's only there to be a red herring in the second one, but it feels like there was more to the Cotton Weary side plot that they didn't do.
I mean, Cotton Wary is the only reason Gale is even in Woodsboro
Yeah,
to investigate anything.
yeah,
Why she even cares? Because she's dead set on him being innocent from the get go.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
So he does have a purpose, but he is not enough. I think his story isn't fleshed out enough
No,
that
that's what I
if
mean.
he would
Like
have been alive and flourishing in the third one, that would have been kind of
he's
meh.
he's in it too much to just be a throwaway character, but
Yes,
he's not in it enough then to be an actual character. That's the problem.
exactly.
He's somewhere in between. It doesn't really work. That's also kind of what holds the
Then
second one back.
the cold open kind of works in the third one because then
Yeah,
we
because
get rid of him.
they kill him off, and
And this time they kill a character we know.
yeah, and it has a purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's someone we know, someone who actually turned out to be kind of a good guy in the second one. So once again, oh
yeah,
no, they killed him. But it's also to like set the plan in motion, because in the
yeah.
third one, whoever it is killing the real life characters, in the order they're being killed in the movie they're making, Stab 3.
So the killer is making Stab 3 in real life.
Yeah, he's
I
making a real
love
life
that.
sequel. Yeah.
It's so good.
It's so
Actually,
convoluted.
it's so convoluted, but it's so good.
Yeah. But then,
Especially when you get to the point where Sydney's like walking around the set that's Woodsboro,
yeah, she's
and she
literally
gets
walking around
confused almost,
Woodsboro. And
and she
when
like
she
calls
talks,
it
she talks to the cop and
Woodsboro.
says, "Yeah, he's over there in Woodsboro." And, dude, it's a
You're in
set. She's
Woodsboro.
like, "You know what I mean."
And
But
she
yeah,
like imagines it's her house. She almost falls through the floor because there is no room
yeah,
behind door
yeah,
number 3.
because it's a fake house.
Yeah.
But the third one, yes, let's get into the third one now properly.
Yes.
To me, right off the bat, it's the weakest one
Yes,
of all
definitely.
four.
I agree. Yes.
It's not
No
bad,
question about it.
but it's pushing it. Mainly
Yes.
because even though Sydney or Nev Campbell is not my favorite character at all, I actually think she's the most annoying character in the first and second movie.
Well,
Mainly because, sorry, but Nev Campbell not the greatest actor, at least not in these movies.
no.
And
But I
she's
mean, she's the only character who doesn't want to be there compared to everyone else who seems kind of interested in being where they are.
yeah. But even though I don't particularly like her as a character, she is the main character. She's the glue that holds the movies together. And for a lot of the third movie, she's not in it. Because she was shooting like 2 TV shows and a movie at the same time, or no, I think it was just 2 TV shows. At the same time as they were making this movie, so she only had 20 days where she could be on set, which
Also,
which is not a
apparently she
lot.
was she was kind of not into being in the third one. She didn't want to get typecast.
Oh, really?
So
I
that
didn't read
like
that.
in combination with her having other projects, she was like, "Okay, fine. I'll do it. You got me for 20 days.
Yeah.
That's about it."
So
She had a valid reason, but she didn't really want to do it either, so.
yeah. So instead, they introduce a lot of new characters, playing the actors who plays the characters in
Yes.
Stab 3, which is once again
We have
so many
2
layers
Gales,
of meta. Yeah.
2 Deweys, we have 2 Sydneys, we have
We
well,
have
we have a couple of originals. We have a almost Randy, but he's not Randy.
I'm my own character.
Yeah, we have like I'm guessing it's supposed to be like Tatum, but it's not Tatum, you know?
Yeah, and then of course we have Patrick Warburton as the douchey bodyguard or security guard, which is very fun. I love Patrick
Very
Warburton. I
funny.
wish he didn't die so quickly, but
Hey, Dewdrop.
yeah, hey, Dewdrop. I'm checking up on your girlfriend here. I'm in your tin can. He's so good.
Perfect.
I love
So good
Patrick
at
Warburton.
yes.
But yeah, so we have all these characters, playing, or all these actors playing different versions of the same characters. Very
Yes.
annoying. Um,
But it's so funny at the same
yeah,
time.
well, yeah, because the other 2 movies they have humor in them. They are funny, but they're also scary. This
Yeah.
one is more funny than scary. There are more
Yes.
jokes. You even have a cameo by Jay and Silent Bob,
Yes.
mistaking Gail for Connie Chung,
Right.
who was a big reporter in the 90s and 2000s. And you have fuck, what's her name? Carrie Fisher showing up, playing
Yeah.
not Carrie Fisher, but an unknown actress who looks a lot like Carrie Fisher.
Gets the same like gets mistaken for her a lot.
Yeah, and says that, oh, I was up for the role of Princess Leia, but I didn't sleep with that that toad or something, George Lucas or
Yeah.
something. And there's a lot of jokes at the expense of Hollywood. I
Yes.
mean, you have the girl who was supposed to play Sydney, who is acting just like Sydney does in the first one. The one who kind of kills the mood in every scene, is boring and always over serious. She is that way. As her
Real life,
in real life, so to speak. Yeah, behind the
Well,
scenes, she's like Sydney in the first movie. The one scene where they're all
um,
sitting on the porch, and she's like, she just kills the mood when they're having kind of fun talking about the murders.
yeah.
Then it turns
Until
out that
you
she
know,
only
of
got
course.
the role because she slept with the producer,
Yeah.
which makes it even more, I don't know if it's fun, but ironic when you know that the movie is produced by Bob and Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah. I noticed that. I was like, ooh, shit.
Oh.
Oh no.
He was
I
reading
wo-
like, yo, it's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I wonder if that's like a secret commentary that he didn't even pick up on.
I'm sure he picked up on it. And the thing is, that was
Because I mean, that is the underlying whole reason for why the murderer is doing what he's doing as well.
yes, it's the whole taking advantage of young people, especially
Young
girls.
actresses
Yeah,
or
um,
aspiring actresses, I
aspiring actors.
suppose.
Yeah. Yes, and that is. I mean, there's been jokes about that for decades, like
Oh
long
yes.
before Me Too was a thing.
Oh
Before all this
yes.
came out into the open, it was a thing people like haha joked about. We just didn't actually know how serious it was unless people were in the
Yeah.
industry. I mean, you should look at some of the just a few years before Me Too. Some of the jokes that what's his name, Seth MacFarlane does in, I don't know if it's the Golden Globes or some award ceremony where there's a lot of jokes about like sexual assault and the whole casting couch culture thing.
Right. Yeah.
And everyone was like, ha 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 ha, because it's not out in the open yet. We can't
We
talk about
can't say
this.
anything yet.
Yeah, hey. And he's like, come on, people.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of poking fun at that and commenting on that.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, yeah, the girl who plays Sydney. Actually, she was supposed to win the part in a sweepstakes
Yeah,
in a
some sort of
competition.
competition
Turns
thing.
out she just slept with the producer, played by Lance Henriksen, who was also, I wish he was in more of the movie because I like Lance Henriksen,
Yeah.
but he's only in a few scenes.
And I mean, we even have it's not just her. The one who's playing
Oh, playing
the
Gail
in
Weathers.
movie in Gale, yeah,
Yeah,
in movie Gale. She apparently slept with the director,
yeah. I can't believe I
uh,
slept with him. Yeah, yeah,
Roman, played by Scott Foley.
yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of those jokes. A
Yes.
lot of Hollywood is scummy jokes. And it's also like a thing because Wes Craven, even though he made movies in Hollywood, he got his start outside of Hollywood making like low
Right.
budget, horror movies like Last House on the Left and
Yeah.
The Hills of Ice. And he never really, except for a few movies like the Scream movies and like a couple more towards the end of his career, he was never really like mainstream Hollywood. He was a little bit on the side making like B movies or horror movies. So
Was he doesn't seem like the kind of person who was in the Hollywood
he
elite,
wasn't, yeah,
kind of.
exactly. He wasn't in the thicket of it. Sort of like John
Yeah.
Carpenter, who's also very, very. We've talked about John Carpenter and how
Yeah.
he's very anti Hollywood. Like he hates making mainstream movies, basically.
Yeah.
um, and I like all of those things. The problem is that
That's the good part of the movie, to be honest.
yeah,
Then
even though it almost gets too much, it gets too meta almost for me.
yeah,
But
I mean
yeah,
it's funny, but it works kind of, but it is a bit messy. That's why it's getting like lower points because it's too much fun and not enough horror.
yes, that's another thing. It's more humorous than scary. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
more
mean
of a
even
horror
if
comedy.
some of the murders are kind of like what the hell, and you have no clue who is the killer. Again, you're still very confused about that part. It's too much fun.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because the whole Gale and Gale being Gale is just what the hell is going on, and they're both competing for real life Dewey, not the
Fake Dewey,
like
actor
fake
Dewey.
Dewey.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ,
that's
and
another
he's
thing.
still sort of half limp, which just Jesus fucking Christ again.
Well, he has nerve damage that doesn't go away usually.
It does in
I
the
mean,
fourth one.
we'll get to that. I mean, it can with physical therapy, but usually you don't have nerve damage for the rest of your life.
I mean, he does get stabbed in a few other places. Maybe it corrected itself. I don't know.
It evens out. Stab once in the
Yeah,
right shoulder, once in the left shoulder. Yeah.
we moved back the nerves. Perfect.
Anyway, uh,
And
the
the
third,
whole plot.
yes, the whole plot. Once again, it's meta commentary on
Sure.
trilogies and how you
But when
wrap up a trilogy.
Yeah.
And they're mostly right about it, because the third movie in a trilogy usually has more of a connection with the first movie, because it's supposed to be
Yes.
a complete circle. So this is not about Billy Loomis. This is not about any one of the murderers in the second movie. This is all about the thing that really started it all, which is Sydney's mother, Maureen
Yeah.
Prescott, whom they have in the mostly in the third one, but in the first and second one, they talk about her like having like a lot of secrets and a shady past.
Specifically in the first one. I
Specific.
don't even know if they mention her in the second one, to be honest.
No, maybe that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but in the first one, they talk about it. I mean,
Yeah.
Billy being
Because,
angry that she was walking around flaunting her stuff all over town. That
yeah,
she
and I
was kind
mean,
of known
Gail
as being
even,
a hussy.
Gail hints at it, like, maybe you don't know everything about your mother.
Yeah, exactly.
And Sydney's like, what do you mean? She's my mother. Of course I do. And even in the third one, she's kind of adamant, like, yes, I know my mother. It's my mother.
But she starts questioning it, and then
Yes.
when the murder seems to be connected to her mother's past.
Since all the photos are showing up.
Yeah, because a picture of her in like her mid-20s, when she supposedly had disappeared for a few years from Woodsboro, shows up at all the murder scenes. Yeah, and it's all tied together when it turns out that she was also a victim of the casting couch in Hollywood. She
Yes.
was in a few like B horror movies with the producer of the Stab 3 movie, Milton something,
Something.
played by Lance Henriksen, John Milton.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
and she had an illegitimate son. They don't say with whom, but I'm
Well,
guessing it's John Milton's son.
yeah, because he's his. Yeah, they say like they say that he's his father. So,
Oh, they do. Okay, so I missed that. Yeah,
but he never says that he did anything with Maureen Prescott.
Maureen Prescott, but
Yeah,
she had a
or
stage
as
name. I don't
she's called
remember.
there, like Sylvie something.
Yeah, something like that. So
He just mentions that, yeah, sure, she was at these parties,
yeah,
and yeah,
she
sure, I
she knew
produced
what she
her
was
in the few
doing.
movies. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but then this illegitimate son didn't even know who his real mother was until Maureen Prescott was murdered. And he I guess he recognized. No,
No,
no, he
he
knew
says
about it
he
earlier.
meets her like a few years
He
before that.
he finds out who she is, but she has a
A new
real family
life.
now. She has the
Yeah.
Prescott family, Neil and Sydney. So
So she doesn't
she
want to
doesn't want
know
to.
about him.
Yeah,
She just disowns
she
him.
disowns him. And that of course, understandably fucks him up.
Yeah, that triggers him, obviously.
Whatever his name is.
Simon? No, I don't know.
Uh,
Where? Wait, where is
Roman
he?
Roman Bridger, Scott
Roman,
Foley,
right?
the director of
Roman.
Stab
I
3.
didn't say it earlier. What
Yeah.
the hell?
So he sets in motion a plan then to exact revenge on Sydney.
It's Sydney's fault.
Yeah, but she's the only one, she's the child who got my mother's affection. It was
Yeah, but
supposed it could have been me, it should have been me, like Boromir says.
yeah, but it
Um
kind of feels like he would have been happy when the mother is dead. Like, why would he want to kill his unknown sister?
well, cuz he's crazy.
Yeah, that's
That's the thing.
crazy.
And I mean,
That's the one common denominator in all of the killers in this one. They're all crazy
well,
somehow.
yeah, well,
Well, you kind of have to be
that's
to kill
exactly.
people.
That's I think you can say that about most people who kill people like this. Not like if you're a soldier or whatever. Like
You
if
know,
you
if
just
you
kill
do it for
people,
sport,
yeah, you're crazy.
yeah,
That's a prerequisite. You got to be crazy to do it.
yeah.
So doesn't it? I
But
mean, I'm fine with that.
the whole like explanation he does and how they're like trying to tie it up, it kind of seems retconned, but it works.
Oh, it's definitely retcon because there's no mention of there being a third movie planned when they did the first and second one. They had
No,
plans for the second one, but not the third one.
but it definitely
It
works.
works, yeah, because he was the one who kind of orchestrated the to turn Billy Loomis into a killer. And
And
of
then
course,
Billy,
it was a happy accident that Billy Loomis's mother then became a crazed killer.
yeah.
But
But then
his
when she ultimately failed, he's like, well, why not try and get them all?
yeah. So he sets his
Do it
own
myself.
plan in motion, and makes a movie about the woman he wants to kill,
Yeah.
just to get close to her, basically.
A little side note.
It is well, sure, yeah,
The TV series plays more on this kind of plot.
okay, yeah,
So it's more of a like unknown sibling, I think, or if it's a it has to do something with like love that wasn't really answered and
sure.
shunned
So
kind of thing.
it's a similar kind of plot.
Yeah. Which is why the series doesn't really work. It's kind of dull.
Yeah, and it's also why the third one isn't as good, because it's a
Yeah.
stretch that he would
It
go
is a
through
bit of a
all this, working for 4 years a plan just to get close to Sydney. Um,
yeah. Like
and
if
being the like the one who pulls the strings behind the scenes
I mean,
for at least one movie before this. Like,
but what
what?
happens in the third movie could have had like what he does to get Sydney on set, literally,
Yeah,
um, could have failed completely. She could have just chosen not to care.
yeah. That's what I mean. It's a lot of coincidences, and you gotta stretch the what's it called? Your
Imagination?
yeah, but it was the
And, I
whatever
don't
the
know.
thing where you do your suspension of disbelief.
Oh, right. That's the
Oh
word.
God, suspension of
Suspense?
disbelief. Yeah,
Yes.
it's stretched far in this one. Like,
Yes.
okay, so that's the problem. That's the big problem. Like, it was kind of a stretch in the second movie. I mean, if you want to, it's kind of a stretch in the first movie. It's a very
Yeah.
very intricate plan just to kill some people you don't like. But whatever, you go along with it because it's so detailed, and it's like, what the fuck. Second one is
This
like,
movie
okay, and the
lacks
third one you're like,
those.
no, 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 no.
The third one lacks the whole like interesting meta. How they're explaining it and trying to understand it. This is just a it just looks weird, to be honest, the way the meta is. It's just messy. It's not interesting.
Yeah, there's too much of it,
Yeah.
because
And even though
you have
and this one is more of a mystery where they're actually like trying to be detectives and figure things out instead of just running away from the killer.
yeah. Yeah, because you have poking fun at real Hollywood, poking fun at the Scream movies, poking fun at Scream fans, poking fun at horror movies in general, and at the same time trying to tell a serious story. Like, it's too much.
It's
It
too many
doesn't
pokes.
hold. And I'm guessing, that might be because this wasn't written by Kevin Williamson. This is written by Aaron Kruger, who has written a lot of. I mean, he's written good stuff, but he's also written some terrible stuff. He wrote Reindeer Games. He wrote 3 Transformers movies. Of course, that this was after
Sure.
Scream, but still.
Yeah.
He's written some good movies as well. He wrote the American remake of Ring is pretty good. He
Well,
did write Ring too, so but
yeah.
still.
Skeleton Key. Bleh.
I kind of like. I've only seen it once,
I don't
long
remember
time
like
ago, but I remember kind of liking it. But
if it's
yeah,
the Brothers Grimm I'm thinking of. It's cool, but it's a bit
it's a stretch. I'm not
yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of that one.
No.
So yeah, maybe they should have gotten Kevin Williamson back. I don't know why he wasn't
Maybe
involved in
he
this
didn't
one.
want to.
Yeah, that's probably it. Like, nah, I had my
Because
2
he could
movies.
feel that the third one would be a stretch. Which
Yeah, which it is.
right.
Like, how
And the
can we
producers went
really
on
write a
with it
third
and
one? No, we can't. They were like, yes, we can, but you won't. So
yes.
bye. Yeah.
And yeah. But then
Well, we
about
gotta
10 years later.
quickly though, because we didn't discuss this
Oh,
in
that's
the
true.
second and third movie. There are a lot of poking fun at the fact that Courtney Cox was in Friends at the time, because
Yeah.
she had just
have a
started
few
Friends when the first movie came out. In the second movie, they mentioned that David Schwimmer plays Randy in Stab.
Yes.
And
No, Dewey.
Oh, sorry, Dewey. Damn it, Dewey.
Keep mixing them
Damn it,
up.
Dewey, Randy, two Y
Same shit.
names. I don't like it.
And they're both kind of goofy.
Yeah. And the fact that Joel, her cameraman, mentions that she's kind of she got mad when the nudes of her leaked, and she's like, they weren't my nudes. It was just my face on Jennifer Aniston's body.
Yeah.
Another poking fun at friends. And in Scream 3, when she talks to the girl who plays her in Stab 3, which is Parker Posey. Yeah, I like Parker Posey.
She's great.
Yeah, she says something. Oh, I'm sorry. What is it? 60 Minutes 2 didn't work out.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you dating Brad Pitt? I'm sorry it didn't work out. But hey, being single is great, huh? And who did Brad Pitt date in the mid 2000s? Jennifer Aniston. And well, I don't know why they're like poking Jennifer Aniston in the ribs. Also mentioning that, this is why David Schwimmer and whoever it was didn't want to come back for Stab 3. That's why I have new actors in Stab 3. A lot of making fun of Friends actors for some reason.
Yeah, they do some of the mentioning like that gets poked at in the first one as well. They mention like when someone asks Sydney, "Who do you want to play you in the live action of this?" She says like, "Oh, they're probably gonna cast Tori Spelling or something."
Right, and Tori Spelling does play Sydney in Stab in Scream 2. But that's not Friends. But yeah.
No, but like they keep doing that whole bringing in real life actors. It's just weird to me because it's putting the Scream universe in real life.
Yeah. That's
also a bit of meta.
That's very meta. Yeah, Luke Wilson playing Billy Loomis. Yeah. But it's those two specific Jennifer Aniston jokes. It's just like, okay.
I don't know. I don't know if there's any history there or if it's just because it's funny.
I don't know. I think it's just supposed to be funny.
But we can both agree that the third one is the worst so far.
It is, yes, it's the weakest one. It's not bad, but I gave it 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd probably put it at a 5 at top, like most. It's not bad, but I'm not gonna watch it.
No, it's the one. It's the one I watched the least.
Yeah.
But then, that was the trilogy. It has a happy end. I mean, all of them have happy endings, but this one is literally, Nev Campbell, Sydney, letting go of her past, because when the start of the third one, she is living under a fake name, way out in the bush, basically. I mean, it's a house and everything, but still, she's
but she kind of lives
in a secluded area.
Oh no, what's main
like,
character in Halloween?
Yeah, like Laurie Strode does in Halloween 2018.
The later ones. Yeah.
And she works from home, and she works for a women's crisis center. So
yeah.
And when the only person she really talks to is her dad, who like shops for her, and I think maybe he lives in the house. They don't talk about that, but it seems like it.
No, he doesn't live in the house, but he comes to visit a lot, I think.
Ah, yeah. And he's like, you need to get out there and live your life. She's like, I'm fine here, because she's obviously scared.
Yeah.
She's been in 2 terrifying events, not just 2
Where
times.
She almost
but
died.
Yeah. But then when she has an alarm on her gate, plus an alarm on her door.
The windows, I think.
And the windows, of course, yeah. But then
she has a dog.
Yeah, she has a dog, a guard dog.
It's a golden. It's not really a guard dog, but
No, but it's it's when it senses something, it will growl and bark. It's a guard dog that way. But the movie ends. First of all, she has Dewey and Gail over to visit, and also I guess her new love interest, the Patrick Dempsey police character who's in the movie.
Yes.
Mostly as a red herring, but turns out he's just a good guy. All of them are over there, and she closes her door, goes for the alarm buttons, and she's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And even like when the door swings open because of the wind, she's like, I'll leave it open. Like, I'm fine. I'm out of the darkness.
Yes. Ha ha
Just
ha.
yeah.
I mean, you have even in the beginning, you see her close the gate and be very meticulous with that, and then and then the ending, you see her just swing open the gates and be like,
Yeah.
"Fine,
Like
leave him."
the terror is over. And
Yeah.
that is a good ending to a trilogy. You
Yes.
could almost, I mean, there are no perfect trilogies, but I mean
No.
this is as close as you get because you have three good movies, even though all aren't as good. Three good movies that wrap it up pretty neatly in the end.
Yeah, there's no loose ends
Yeah,
really.
I mean, and the fact that it circles
There's,
back to the original Maureen
yeah,
Prescott, and they finish that subplot.
yeah, yeah.
It's a good
There's no
trilogy.
loose ends and there's
No,
no plot holes in any of them.
yeah,
It works.
yeah. So
That's good. It's
they had a
more or
good
less
trilogy.
perfect trilogy, but it's they're not perfect movies, so
No, so you
can't call
can't
it
call it a
perfect.
perfect trilogy. That's why
No.
there are no perfect. Even Back to
Yeah.
the Future isn't a perfect trilogy,
No.
even though we call it a perfect trilogy because all three movies are great. Either way,
Yes.
10 years
Then
goes
11
on.
years,
11 years, yes, technically 11 years,
technically.
and they decide to make another one. It's I don't know if that's an official thing, but I call it a revival sequel.
Yeah, I think that's valid.
Yeah, and looking at it now, this is the first time in many years that I watched it because it's been 10 years since it came out now. It's also kind of a remake of the first one. There's a lot of plot points that resemble the first movie, which kind of,
There is a
in a
point
way,
to it.
makes it a soft reboot.
But I think that's the point.
Yeah, like they don't mention a lot of the stuff that happens in the second and third movie, but those things still happened. We know that.
Yes. I
Um,
mean, I think the point of releasing Scream 4 was to like try and recreate what the first two at least did, but
yes,
for the new generation.
yes.
Or what I
It's
guess would be my generation,
yes,
technically.
it's
And yours,
Scream for the new generation.
yeah. But they
Um,
can't just like disregard the originals
no,
because
and as you shouldn't.
and
There's
also they will bank on the name, obviously.
Yeah, and there is something to be said for franchises where they actually they honor the canon,
Yeah.
and they don't just say, we don't care about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. This is the real sequel to the first one.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, Halloween.
Yes.
This is Scream 4. The first
Yes.
three happened, but we're gonna focus on the first one. So
Yeah.
all the characters are back, all the surviving characters are back, but they're now older. Now they're grown up. That's another thing that is kind of different in the third movie. Because in that one they're supposed to be grown up. They're past high school, past college.
Yeah.
They're all working. Um, and I kind of feel like the audience is supposed to kind of grow with them. Because the first
Yes,
one is
even
very
though
much
it
like
is
a high school, slasher movie.
it is only 3 years later though. Well, four
Well,
after the first one.
there's 10 years
So
in the fourth one.
yeah, but like in real life, so the audience haven't had time to grow up.
No, about 4 years after high school, you're out of college, and you should be like
True.
technically, unless you're like a doctor or whatever, it takes many years of practice. You are working 4 years after
Yes.
high school, so you are a grown up.
It maybe just doesn't work because I was not in
Well, you
high
weren't in
school when I.
you were not even in high school when the third movie came out.
Yeah, that's true.
You were in high school when the fourth movie came out.
Yes.
So yeah, it
Which is why the
doesn't
fourth
work for
movie
you.
worked for me better, I suppose.
Yes, because that's also the thing. You have all the older characters, the old characters, who are now properly grown up. Some of
Yes.
them in their 40s, coming back. But focus is on these new teenage characters. So like you said, it is Scream for a new generation, but it's being ushered in by the old generation. And I think it works for the fourth movie in a franchise, and one that
Yeah,
comes
it's def-
10 years after the original. Yeah, it works surprisingly well.
even like the whole reasoning works pretty well.
Yeah, it's a good sequel. It didn't get great reviews. It got very differing reviews.
Yeah, it's a 52 on Metascore.
Yeah, so it's actually slightly below Scream 3, but I would say it's better than Scream 3.
Oh yes,
I
definitely.
it's almost on the level of Scream 2. Like
Yeah.
on Twitter, I rank them Scream 1, 2, 4, 3,
Yeah,
top to
that's
bottom.
I'm not sure if I prefer 4 or 2. I might prefer 4 a little bit more just because it
It's more
caters more
your
to my
to your
age.
generation, yeah.
Yeah.
But what's more interesting about the fourth one is then that they've toned down the meta stuff.
Yes.
Like there are no, I mean there are still more stab movies. There was a lot of meta commentary around franchises that goes on for too long. I mean, in the first scene they mentioned Saw 4, and
Yeah.
like, oh, I hate that franchise. It's
Even like the cold open has 2 cold opens.
yeah, and this thing
So
that,
like
yeah, they talk about Saw and how it's just torture porn. It's the same thing over and over again. And then it turns out that there's 7 stab movies in this timeline. And that Stab 7 opens with the cold open from Stab 5 and 6.
yeah.
uh, which is
So
weird. So
they're still poking
it's
fun
yeah, the cold open
poking
of
fun,
this movie is a movie within a movie within a movie. Technically
which is
within a
their whole
movie.
poking fun at it, but it kind of works because they quickly move away from making it too
Yeah, there's not much more
complicated.
talking about that. What they do talk
No.
more about is like how the horror genre or I mean entertainment more, I think, more than just horror, how entertainment has changed. And I watched it just before we started recording this, or like an hour or whatever before we started recording. And what I gotta say, like the strongest aspect of this movie is that it's as relevant today as it was 10 years ago. Because they're talking about, like, becoming famous because of social media.
Yeah.
Like, being
Yeah.
famous for nothing other than existing in a specific situation.
Only thing that kind of dates it is the fact that the people are using landlines.
Well, yeah, the tech, obviously, because they're
Yeah,
using
but that's about the only
2010
thing.
tech. Yeah. You have a guy who live streams
Yep.
before Twitch. I mean, Twitch was a thing, but nobody used it because it was
Or it was as big as it is now.
no, yeah, nowhere near as big as it is now.
I mean, now
Back then, it
people
was
literally walk around with the camera on them while
yeah,
they're out
the
in the
IRL
world.
stream and
Yeah,
makes
just like we
hundreds of
did.
thousands of dollars. Yeah, I mean back then it wasn't even Twitch; it was Justin TV, and nobody used it.
Yeah.
Um, you have of course a lot more cell phone usage, which is one of the problems with the movie, but we'll get to that. And you
Yeah.
have the goal of the killer this time is to just become famous for who they are, not because something they
Yeah.
did or because they're good at anything. It's just because they were in the situation that they were in. Funny
They
thing is
want to
that
be.
she has to do a lot of like planning and a lot of work to just happen to be in that situation, which is kind of funny.
Which is exactly what YouTubers do nowadays,
Yes,
to be
yes,
honest.
that's what I mean.
It's all very orchestrated.
Yes, I mean she lives a fake life basically to become famous.
Yeah.
I think we're just gonna go straight into because the rest of the
Yes.
movie is a lot of like you have a lot of red herrings once again. You have the overly plucky and affectionate Judy Hicks, the Deputy Hicks, who is
Yes.
kind of infatuated with Dewey, who is now sheriff in Woodsboro, and
And the husband,
husband
to
of
Gail.
Gail. Yeah, he proposed her in the end of the third one.
Yeah.
You of course have the murder start the very day that Sydney comes back to Woodsboro for her book tour. So that makes and
Yes.
she has
And it's
the
the
phone,
day before the
the
uh
anniversary,
anniversary.
yeah, of well, all 3 movies because they all take
Yeah.
place around Maureen Prescott's death. Um,
Yeah.
so she's a red herring in this one. You have her publicist who wants to drum up drama.
Yeah.
Kind of becoming a red herring. There's a lot of red herrings, and of course, the creepy ex-boyfriend of Jill, Sydney's cousin,
Cousin. Yeah.
obviously playing the Billy Loomis character in this one.
Yeah.
And you have the kind of nerdy, kind of creepy film nerds in this one.
But in this case, there's two of them.
There's two of them, yes.
And then you have a couple of new like characters. You have the best friends, but now there's two of them, and one of them is, the blonde bimbo basically.
Yeah.
And then you have Kirby, who's looks like a blonde bimbo, but she's not.
No.
She's a
She
nerd.
is. She's so cool.
Yeah,
I had
she
and
is
still
so
has
cool.
because of this role mostly a major crush on Hayden Panettiere. Oh my
Yeah.
god! I know Kirby's just a
did she do
character, but
now?
Jesus Christ, the hair, the clothes, the fact that she likes horror movies.
She knows everything about horror movies. She
My
has a
god,
collection.
that is instant boner. Pardon my French.
She hasn't done anything since 2018.
No, yeah, she was in a bunch of TV shows. And I guess when Nashville ended, I looked this up as well. I was like, what has she done lately? I guess she took like a gap year, whatever you want to call it.
She hasn't done anything.
No, because Nashville ended in 2018. She was like, I'll take 2019 off, start working on
Then-
projects, and then the world ended. So yeah, that's probably why.
But we also have like a bunch of all the cold open actors are
Famous female actress.
actresses.
Yes, you have Kristen Bell, Anna Paquin, someone else I
Hale.
recognize. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. The blonde one with Lucy Hale I don't recognize as much.
No, but she's also become like a TV star after this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just read up on that because I hadn't seen the shows, but I read that they're famous now. But yeah, but what the fourth one does very well is that it tones down the wacky meta stuff from the fourth one. It's more on the level of the first and second one, maybe even more the first one.
We're all movie enthusiasts, specifically, obviously, of Stab because of where they live and where the story of
Yeah.
Stab takes place.
But that's just meta because they're actually fans of the Scream movies. That's all. Because Stab is Scream in the Scream universe,
That's meta, I guess. But it works. It works.
Yeah. And the whole thing talking about, because this came out in 2010, which once again was around the time when horror was getting kind of stale, because we had, as they poke fun at in this movie, we had a whole ocean full of crappy remakes. Some good, but most of them bad. And that was the trend.
One of which that Hayden Panettiere is actually in.
Yeah. Well, wait, which one is she in?
Is she in Prom Night?
I never saw the Prom Night remake. I don't know.
I think that's her at least.
Oh, okay.
Which I find funny, but I'm getting kind of unsure.
Yeah.
Wait, when is that?
I don't remember. I think that's 2004. I never saw them. I've only seen parts of the original even, so I don't know. But I know there was I know there was a Prom Night remake with that poster where you see a mouth and the prom queen tiara over the eyes, like
It's her. It's Brittany Snow. I'm sorry. Never mind.
Either way,
I failed.
Yeah, that was the new trend that oversaturated the horror genre was remakes of classics, which to this day is still going on. But it has slowed down because there were so many back then. They point them all out: Dawn of the Dead, Black Christmas, The Hills of Ice, Last House on the Left.
That is the last question.
Yeah,
whole,
exactly. Yeah, and they don't even mention all of them. I think they miss I Spit on Your Grave and the fact that there are two sequels to the I Spit on Your Grave remake. They don't mention The Haunting. I guess that actually came out in 2001, so it was like a proto remake.
Yeah.
But whatever.
2011, by then, the only horror movies we had were, well, the old classics, obviously, but they were not famous anymore in that sense, not for this generation.
No.
All we grew up with were bad remakes.
Bad remakes. We talked about one recently, The Fog. It came out in 2005. Yeah.
Bad remake.
Bad remake.
Those were the movies that my generation specifically grew up on in horror, because I didn't see the originals. I saw the remake.
You saw the remakes, yeah.
Yeah.
But then
This movie came along.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they were hoping that it would reinvigorate the horror genre the way the first one did. It didn't really.
Really, but
it didn't start a new trend. I mean, I guess technically after that we started seeing more like indie horror movies, but it took a few years.
Yeah.
You had movies like
took a few years.
The Babadook, but that was like 2014. I guess you had around the same time, around the same time you had like The Strangers, which was a kind of a retro take on horror, but it wasn't a remake. Stuff like that.
Then
And
you
not,
had The Woman in Black came out in 2012.
yeah, The One in Black, and then later we had, of course, The Witch and Hereditary, and now we have like this whole the big movement in horror now is indie horror, like real scary movies, like scary movies.
It's not the popcorn horror, it's
No,
scary.
it's quality filmmaking,
Yeah.
and it's
But
also
I
scary.
believe I will still credit Scream 4 as the
Like
renaissance of the new
trying to
horror.
put an end at least to the remake
Yeah.
trend. Yeah.
Yeah, which it did more or
And
less.
it's kind of funny because it is a little bit of a remake of the first one. Takes place
They
in
even say it
Woodsboro.
is.
Yeah.
They call
Because
the event
they talk about remake
this.
culture in it. Yeah. Once again,
I
very
mean,
meta, just not as annoying as the third one.
I think both Jill and Sydney say that like you have certain rules for remakes, and Sydney mentions the fatal flaw of a remake is, they never do as good as the first one,
Exactly.
as the original.
Except for a couple. What's anyway? Yeah.
Was that?
There are. I will say. I recently talked to a friend about this. I prefer the remake of The Hills of Ice, the 2006 remake, over the original. The original is good. Once again, Wes Craven movie, so it's good. But I think the new one from 2006 is better. But yeah, whatever. That's
There's always
yes. There's always exceptions that
to each their own.
yeah that confirms the rule or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Something like that.
yeah. So that's what the movie is. It's a commentary on the state of the horror genre, just as the first one
Yeah.
was, and it does it very well. What
Very well.
and that's the only thing they don't really, because the other trend was of course torture porn. You had the Hostel movies, the Saw movies.
Which they mentioned in the beginning with
Yeah,
Saw
that's
4.
something they mention it. What I remember at the time not liking was that it wasn't as violent and gory as horror movies was at the time. But watching it now, that's not a problem for me anymore.
No, that's what I liked about it, I think, because the Scream movies have never been gory, really.
There are a few kills that are like, oof.
Yeah, but like,
In this one specifically, in the fourth one.
sure, but it's not as violent as some other horror movies. It's
No,
not
it's
Saw.
not torture porn. Yeah.
Yeah. So I liked it because
Oh,
again,
sure.
it feels more realistic almost.
But at the time, I'd seen so many of those torture porn movies. I was like, I was so used to a lot of blood and guts and stuff. It's like, oh, they're
I
just
guess.
stabbing people. Ah, okay, whatever. But watching it now, it's like that makes total sense that they would tone down the violence so as not to be clumped in with the trashy torture porn stuff.
Yes.
It's more classy. And overall, that's what makes it good. It's a good revival sequel. It's a good, not really passing of the torch because they didn't continue making them, until now. It's really to show that the original is always gonna be the best one.
Yeah.
That's
Which,
literally
again,
the
they
quote
say in
you
the end,
had.
it's
Yeah. And-
it's the what's it called at the end, there's a word for those kind of lines.
I don't know. Final words.
No, but specific like when Terminator's "I'll be back" is it's a what's it called?
One liner.
One-liner. It's the
Yeah.
one-liner at the end. Like
Sure. Yeah.
you'll never
Um,
beat the original.
Yeah. And it also it also then works, even though it kind of now there are 4 Scream movies. It's not a trilogy anymore, but it works as sort of its own thing and as a revival sequel.
Because it's not dependent on the trilogy. It's only dependent on the first movie.
Yes, exactly.
So it doesn't harm the trilogy, nor need it. So yeah, it's I like it. I like it so much.
Yeah. It was a good. It showed that you can make like a good movie many years later, not just banking on the name and making a shitty remake or just a shitty sequel. You can actually make a quality sequel. that's what the fourth one proves.
Also, I believe our theater experience of that premiere helped a lot
Yes,
to
because
alleviate the well, not alleviate. What's it called? Elevate
elevate the
the
experience.
original viewing.
Yeah, because we got tickets around that time. We had quite a few. We got quite a few tickets to like early screenings and like
Yeah,
special screenings. I mean,
I think it's
we
for
were
some
we
reason the Swedish film started receiving a lot of like opportunities to have
yeah.
previews and
I
stuff.
remember that wasn't a good movie, but we got to see Sucker Punch presented
Oh
by
yes.
Zack Snyder in the theater. We
You
saw
even asked him a question, I
yeah,
think.
I got to talk to him. We saw Project X, not a good movie once again. We saw that like weeks before the premiere
We saw
for like a gamer audience for some reason, even though it's not a gamer
yeah.
movie.
No, but it was
Um,
supposed to be like kids that
Kids,
were
yeah,
kind of like the kids in the
in the
movie.
movie, yeah.
We got tickets because we were gold members, I think.
No, it was through this Van Pallen.
Oh
It
yeah, it
wasn't even
was
through
right.
Swedish film industry.
Oh, that's the best part. The movie wasn't even subtitled
Yeah,
because it
yeah,
was
it was so
so
early.
like.
Um,
I think
we
that's around the same time we saw was it Alien?
no
No, 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 no,
Pred-
no.
Predators,
Predators.
the Predators movie. Yeah,
Again, we saw it like months before the premiere.
yeah, at least a month, at least a few weeks. And you know there was merch, and we
We
got
got the
Predator on
original,
Blu-ray, and you know you get
got Monster, and a
yeah, yeah,
T-shirt.
yeah.
You
It
had
was
the
a lot of fun,
T-shirts.
and then yeah, this and that was all like 2010, 2009, and then we had this in
Yeah,
2011.
and they
Um,
ran the whole same theme. They had early screening, and they gave us the Scream mask.
we got the masks, we got some phone covers, though for iPhones I can never use it. I think I still have it in
I don't
some
did
cupboard
get that.
somewhere. Yeah, it wasn't a Scream phone cover. It was just some horror themed phone cover.
I don't remember that even.
It wasn't the Scream. It was like a skull on the back instead of the actual Scream
Ah,
mask. It's
okay.
something stupid like that. But
I'm
still,
not sure if it was the production company that sent this or if it was Swedish Film who
no, it
like
was
let's
probably
do it.
Swedish film
They
industry that did
got
it.
it
Yeah,
because
but
those ghost face masks are everywhere.
yeah,
Obviously, like that's.
they were poor quality. They broke pretty
Yes.
quickly. I don't have it anymore.
I think I have mine, but
That's
it's
cool.
not in good shape.
No. But it was for like it wasn't something they advertised. The people who got the tickets were fans of the
Yeah.
movies. So it was kind of like being at Stab in Scream 2.
Yes,
People
because it
wearing the
was that
masks,
feeling.
people
Everyone put on the
screaming,
mask
people were
on, and
cheering.
theater people, the guys who had the screening, they actually like told everyone, put on the mask. We need to take a photo of you all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
What happened to that
hopefully those
photo?
pictures exist somewhere still,
Somewhere.
somewhere on the internet. Yeah, so that definitely helped. But
Yes.
rewatching it now,
It's
probably
still.
I have seen it a couple times since then, but this is the first time in
Yeah.
years. I still enjoyed it a lot. And like we said, the motivation for the killer in this one, spoilers, it was Jill, Sydney's
Yeah.
cousin, is very much something that could have worked today. Like she wants to be in the limelight because she was always in the shadow of cousin Sydney. But I want to
Yeah.
be
How could you
famous.
ever become anything when your cousin is the survivor of the Woodsboro killings, murders, whatever they
Murders.
call it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she even says, what am I supposed to do? Finish high school? Grad school?
Get a
Work?
job?
Never. Like, no, I just want to be famous. I don't want to do anything. I just want to be famous.
Which actually probably works even better now because a lot of kids today, their aspiration in life is to become rich and famous.
Yeah, it's not like, oh,
That's
what do you
the
want to do? Oh,
job
I want
now.
to be an actor or actress. I want to be a dancer. I want to be no, it's I want to be
Yeah.
famous.
Yeah. For
I
what?
mean,
I don't know. I just want to be famous.
now old boomer Tobe is coming here. Like that's literally what TikTok is.
Yeah.
You're copying someone else's dance and becomes famous because you're good looking. Like
Or you're
that's always
fake acting to get acting jobs, or you're just posing and looking pretty to get model jobs.
yeah, and you don't put in the work that real models or real actors do, like you did back in the day.
No, they don't
I
go to
mean,
castings the same way they did in the 90s or
no, I mean, of
80s.
course, a lot of it just has to do. I mean, people have always gotten jobs because they're just pretty, but there was still
And I mean, the
more.
internet helps.
Yeah, of course, but there was still more to it. Now it's. I mean,
Yeah.
look at Addison Rae.
Yes.
She
Perfect example.
is a giant star who, like, 2 years ago was nobody, and this year she went to the Met Gala. She had her own Netflix movie. I mean, she was on Jimmy Kimmel. No, she was on some Tonight Show thing,
Some talk show thing.
And the only thing she
She
did
got
was
to win
dance,
awards.
because she did the
We
TikTok dances, and I was like, what is this? What is her?
got to
What is
release
her
music
talent?
and
Yeah,
she danced.
she has her own
She
music.
can't. Okay, this is gonna sound rude, but she can't really act.
No,
Obviously,
we talked about that. She's not
yeah,
a good actress.
she can't really dance because she
No.
can only do the TikTok dances, which are not actual dance. That's just random. It's like dabbing. That's
Yeah,
not a
it's
dance
just a
move. It's
move,
a move.
anyone can
She
do
can't
it.
really sing.
No, I listened to one of her songs and it's
It's terrible.
bad.
I mean, it's like the Vine stars a few years ago, but just
Yeah, but this
worse.
is it's amped up now. TikTok
Yeah.
is just look at me, make me famous because I'm pretty.
Funny thing is that a lot of the big creators, not even the big creators, but like normal big creators on TikTok, actually make a living out of it.
I know.
It's
It's
so weird.
it's terrible.
I
And
don't
that,
understand how this world and the economy goes around when that's part of it.
it's
But
all.
that's a tangent.
I mean, it's that's a big time, but it's all fueled by ads. It's all like
Yeah.
it's
See,
it's.
TikTok didn't even have ads in the beginning, and you never did.
No, but they do have ads
Like
now.
yes,
Problem is that
you
TikTok
didn't
takes like
do
80% of it.
you didn't do promotional content either. That was
No,
a big taboo in the beginning.
yeah, but now it isn't.
Now it is. No,
Either
now
way,
everything is sponsored.
this is just in the last like maybe 4 or 5 years. But we're talking
Yeah,
in
but
Scream 4
Scream
talked about it in
it
2011.
introduced the idea more or less. I mean,
Yeah.
there were already YouTubers doing
Yes, of
exactly that.
course. I mean, yeah,
YouTube wasn't
YouTube was beginning to blow up in 2010. So I'm
we
pretty
have
sure
the
that's why.
original
Yeah.
in
And
that now.
social media was becoming big. I remember I
Yeah.
first got Facebook in 2009. I got
Don't
Twitter in
they even
2012.
mention like that Facebook they say that something's happening on Facebook but nowadays I guess it would be on Twitter.
Yeah, it's one of the stab cold opens in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess should be a
Which
Twitter killer now. Yeah.
true.
But
Well,
and I
nowadays it
mean
would
and I
be
mean there's always
like that.
been people who would like fake, stories like this and
Oh, yes.
just want to be famous because they were in a specific situation. But the whole doing it through social media, they're going to upload all the murders and stuff. That's what makes it so very topical,
Relevant.
relevant. Yeah,
Yeah.
even today, 10 years later.
I mean,
Um,
it was kind of new back then, so it's
yeah, but now
kind of
it's and now
now
it's
it's
now it's more relevant.
way of life.
Yeah. And that's a big reason why I like the fourth one.
Actually, that makes me wonder. If I show like my boyfriend's little sister who's like 14, I wonder what she would say about this one.
Yeah. Um.
Not that she would watch horror movies because she doesn't like that, but her friends maybe.
Yeah. Maybe.
Because I'd be interested to see how they would like react to that kind of idea.
Yeah.
If they would be like, "Oh yeah, that sounds normal," or if
Because
it would be sort of
if you show
weird.
them the old ones, they're gonna be like dated. But this
Yeah,
one, it's still 10 years old. But yeah, I think the teenagers today could still like appreciate
relate
this one.
to it,
Yeah.
sort of. Yeah,
Even though they don't like old movies or whatever.
yeah, because old movies are weird.
Yeah.
This one
So
would still work.
yeah.
Also, I think this one opened up for just having to mention it. It opened up for Emma Roberts to actually get
Yeah.
good
This was the
acting jobs after
first
this.
time I saw her. I didn't know
I've
who Emma
seen her in a
Roberts
few
was
things
before.
before that, in like basically Disney movies, but they're not
Oh
Disney.
yeah, well I didn't. Yeah, I didn't watch
But
stuff of
after
this.
this, a few years later, she got Scream Queens.
Yes, and I mean she was in American Horror Story before that, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Isn't that like around the same time?
Let's see, 2010. She was in Scream 4, 2011, and then Scream
Then we
Queens.
had
Scream Queens was 2015.
Yeah, we had like a few things in
But
between,
she
of
was in
course.
she was in the third season of American Horror Story 2013. So that she started working on that um after Scream 4. So
Why can't I find that?
because American Horror Story is higher up since it's still like an
Oh, right,
ongoing
still
series.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But that's what for me. This is like the first time I'm like, oh, Emma Roberts. And then I saw her in American Horror Story. I still like We're the Millers. I think that's a funny
Yes,
movie.
I like that one too.
So I
But like,
recognize from that, and then definitely first season Scream Queens. Oh my god,
oh my
so
god.
good.
It's, I want to say that Jill Roberts, the character in Scream 4, very much inspired Chanel.
Probably
Because
yeah. Well, she's a
the
little
way she
more
acts,
entitled.
well, yeah, but the way she acts when she drops the mask is very
Oh
much like
sure.
Chanel.
Yeah.
Change the hair color and fancy up the clothes, and you got Chanel all over it.
Oh, right. She was in Wild Child, and that's one people talk about. Like people
Yes, Wild
from
Child
like
and
your
Aquamarine.
generation. Yeah.
Those two were the
I
ones I
was
saw her in.
I was a little too old for that.
Also, they're very chick flicky.
Yeah, sure.
That was you were at that age where you couldn't tell people you would appreciate a chick flick.
No, no. Aquamarine came out when I was 16. Wild Child when I was 18. So yeah,
You would not be able to admit
no.
You might appreciate Wild Child now. I'm not sure, but maybe.
I think that's the thing you had to grow up with. I don't think because
Probably.
I have tried to watch Mean Girls because people say it's like, oh, it's really good, and that's actually from my generation. I just didn't watch it back when it was new because I'm like, no way, man. And
Oh,
I
dude.
don't I've watched it, and sure it's better than most chick flicks, those kind of movies, but I still don't get it. I don't get it. So
Shame on you.
I don't think I would get Wild
Nah,
Child.
probably not.
New girl,
But
new school, new rules.
yeah. But that brings us to Scream 2022.
Yes.
We just have to mention it. Are we excited?
I am excited.
Me too.
Honestly, I've only watched the trailer once. You can
Well,
see
yeah.
you can see it on this channel. I have a trailer reaction for it, and I am cautiously optimistic because even the worst Scream movie, Scream 3, is still okay. It is a franchise that never went too far. It never felt like it was cashing in on the name. It was actually doing quality movies for the most part. And unfortunately, up until the fourth one, or including the fourth one, it was always the same people, same actors, same director, sort of the
Well,
same, writer, even though they switched the writers for the third
we
one, but
do
still.
still have the three original actors.
Yeah, but now there's only 3 left.
No, we actually have four if you count Deputy Judy Hicks. She
Oh, she's
returns.
in it. Oh, okay.
Yes. Well, according to the casting list.
Yeah. But
And we do get some new faces, obviously, but we do
yeah.
also get some actors that we should recognize at least. So it's not just like TikTok stars becoming actors or whatever. I can't
Yeah.
even say that one of them is so good. Good on you for that. None of them are TikTok people.
Yeah, we also have some like former like teenage or child stars. You have Kyle Gallner in it, Dylan Minnette, who's
Yeah.
both of them are good. And then I don't know. I'm not super aware of her, but Mikey Madison, who played one of the crazy hippies in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, is in this one. Which
Yes, that's
that's
correct.
that's a lot of fun because I like her. I like her in that movie, so I'm happy she's in this one.
Yeah.
And then you have, I guess, some more modern stars, if you can call it that. I see Jack Quaid in one of the pictures. Yeah. Um.
And the one I'm thinking is supposed to be the main actress, or main character. The what's it called? The final girl, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, she's been in things, but
Melissa
I don't
Barrera.
recognize her too much. No, I think it's Jenna Ortega who's gonna be the
Oh,
final girl.
well, they play sisters or something because they have the same last name.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but I think it's Jenna Ortega based on what I saw in the trailer. I'm
Oh,
not sure.
okay.
I am excited, but I am cautious because based on the names of the characters, they don't seem to be. Sure, we didn't see that with Jill Roberts either, but I can't see how there's supposed to be a connection. So
No, and that's
I'm
the
wondering why the main three will come back.
yes, that's what I wanted to. And since Wes Craven passed away in 2015, actually Scream
Oh
4 was his
yeah.
last movie. He retired after that.
Oh.
We have Matt Bettinelli Olpin and Tyler Gillett. Now they did something.
Ready or
They
Not.
made Ready or Not. I haven't seen that one, but I know a lot
It's
of people like
actually
that
really
one.
good. It's a
Yeah,
good one.
people like that one. But then you have who was writing it? James Vanderbilt, Guy Busick, and Kevin Williamson is just characters created by.
Yeah.
And James Vanderbilt, I recognize that name. Oh yeah, right. He produced Zodiac.
Oh.
He also wrote Independence Day Resurgence. Was
Oh.
sure I enjoyed that movie, but it's not a good movie. What else has he
He
written?
also produced the White House Down.
Oh yeah, no, that's not a good one.
Oh,
Oh
he produced Ready or Not as well.
yeah, so they're
So
probably a team.
they three worked. Yeah.
But he wrote Darkness Falls. He
He
wrote
produced
he.
Slender Man.
Oh no, and he wrote the
Oh,
Rundown.
no.
Wait, that's that's the Rundown I was thinking of. Yeah, I think we call it Welcome to the Jungle here in Sweden.
Oh, he wrote Darkness Falls? Really?
Yeah.
No,
Um.
I like that one.
Okay, but he also wrote the two Amazing Spider-Man movies.
Oh.
Yeah. Um. He is writing the next Transformers movie.
Oh no.
He wrote Murder Mystery, the Adam Sandler movie, and he is
Oh,
writing Murder Mystery 2.
oh no.
So
Okay, so we're
I
in for a
don't
ride
know.
here.
I don't know. And then the other guy, who was that?
Guy
Guy
Busick?
Busick. What has he done?
I have no idea.
Once
Oh,
again,
he's
Ready or
also in
Not.
Ready or Not.
Yeah, he wrote for Castle Rock, which I heard was a good show. I never saw it. Um,
Stand
but
Against
then
Evil.
yeah,
Oh yeah, I
some
wrote.
TV stuff. I don't even know. I don't even know what that is. Standing
He
Against
hasn't done a
Evil.
lot.
Watch Over Me. Yeah, I think he's just, he's a
His friends,
he's a friend of theirs, and they all kind of got their
they
big
all
break with Ready or Not.
collaborated with Ready. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Collaborated. I could not say that.
So we'll have to see. I mean, sure.
I'm
People,
still excited.
a lot of people say that Ready or Not is really good, and
It is.
I sure,
Watch it.
I'll
Honestly.
I'll buy that. But this has always been Wes Craven's movies. He has produced
Yes.
them. He has directed them. He's had the same people write for him. And now we don't
Yeah.
have the original writer. We don't have the original director. It's the fifth movie now. 10 years
Oh.
after the fourth one, which was 10 years after the trilogy.
Yeah. So the soul is kind of missing. So
Yes, and I'm wondering, like,
it's hard
you
if
had
they're actually
one
gonna
you had
pull it off.
you had one revival sequel. Do you really need another? Why are they making this one?
Yeah.
This is the
And we
first
know
time I'm
nothing
thinking,
before.
sure, we don't know anything yet, but I'm just because I am cynical about stuff like this. I'm wondering, are they just doing it to bank on the name?
Feels like it.
Like
But also,
it's time for a revival of the Scream name.
the problem is because how they plot the plot line is in on IMDb is 25 years after the original series of murders in Woodsboro.
That's another thing.
And
So
the
they're
killer
going,
emerges, and Sidney Prescott must return to uncover the truth. And
yeah,
then on the poster they put, "It's always someone you know."
yeah, and the fact
So
that
unless it's Sydney, Gail, or Dewey, I'm kind of gonna be pissed about it probably.
yeah, and then the fact that at least the fourth one had the decency to call
Oh,
itself Scream 4. This is just Scream. This is a this is a proper soft reboot. Huh?
because it's always someone you know. So far, it's always been a connection somehow. What if it's Deputy Judy Hicks?
I don't know why it would be. I don't know.
No, it just feels like that would be a dumb
Yeah,
one
because
they pick. So maybe
because
they'll
she's
pick
not
it.
really a character people care about because she's only been in one movie before this, 10 years ago.
Yeah, but she could be the jealous one trying to kill people.
That would be terrible.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me.
No,
Honestly.
oh my god, no! Now I don't want to see this movie anymore.
See,
Don't say that.
putting it out there though, it won't happen just because I said it. So good. We just jinxed it. That won't happen. Good.
Sure. Like I said though, because
The more we talk about it, I'm less excited. But I
yes,
am
I don't
still
want to.
excited.
I don't want to talk too much about it. You can once again watch my trailer reaction. I'm much more happy about it
Yeah.
then. What I will say is because of the good graces of 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm willing to give this one a shot.
Yes.
But I am very cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
And I mean,
But we'll have to wait.
after this, they can't really make anymore. They're getting too old. Unless they're gonna bring in a new cast altogether, and then it's just gonna fucking suck. So they can't wait for 10 more years to make Scream 6, you know.
Oh no, because I thought if they wanted to keep doing the Scream movies, they would have kept going straight after 4. At
Yes.
least with like a couple of years at most in between them.
But they
But
decided
no,
to not do that, which is good. You know,
which is good.
they made one, you know, for the fans, because they like it. It's a revival
Yeah,
sequel. That's it.
they should have ended
What
there
it
probably.
what is this, you know?
I even was skeptical with the Scream TV series.
Yeah,
Luckily, it
I
has
never watched
nothing
it
to
because
do
of
with the
that.
original, except for the name, I suppose, and the fact that they're using a sort of a look-alike ghost face mask.
Yeah, but it's a completely different mask.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be a similarity, I
No,
think.
I don't know. That
But
that
other
is
than
that
that,
is
it's
that is literally just banking on the screen name. That's why I
yes.
didn't watch it. I don't like that.
If they'd called it something else, it would have made more sense. They would not have like Scream was just so unnecessary. Either way, it's not releasing yet. I don't even know when it's releasing. So I mean the
No,
2022 movie.
sometime yeah, sometime 2022. I don't remember what it said in the trailer, but early
Oh
2022, I
wait, on the
suppose.
poster it says only in theaters 1.14.2022. So
14th of January?
I guess
Yeah.
we'll see.
We'll see. But that's our Scream discussion.
Very
By the
long
way,
one.
did we say our rating for the fourth one?
Oh no, we didn't. Well, I said I'm probably ranking it slightly higher than the second one, so I'm guessing I'll put it at like an 8 as well,
Okay.
ish.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I put it as a 7 because I put the second one as a 7.
Yeah.
But I think I prefer this. If this is Scream 2 is a 7.1. This is just a straight 7. You know.
Yeah, for me it's like the opposite, but yeah.
Yeah.
They're very much on the same level. I
Yes.
just slightly prefer the fourth one because of the generational gap, I guess.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, I suppose.
It's more for your generation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the word I was trying to do.
But yeah, that's our Scream discussion. This went on for a little long. Not as bad as our Fast and Furious discussion, but
No,
we
and
had
we
4
got
movies to talk
4
about. So
so
yeah. Is it? I didn't even think of it, but it was perfect because it's still October, so we're still doing horror movies.
obviously.
I'm not sure what we're going to talk about in the Patreon episode now because we've talked about
No,
all
me
the Scream
neither.
movies. I don't know, maybe. Oh, you know what we could talk about? We could
What?
talk about all the stupid horror movies that try to copy Scream and completely miss the point of Scream making fun of those kind of movies. You
We
know,
could.
I Know What You Did Last Summer, even though
Oh
that is
yeah.
written by the same guys. I don't know what he thought. Valentine. What else came out around that time? I don't know, but you know those
Well,
the
yeah.
horrible Scream ripoffs.
If you want to find out what we think about those and exactly which one we're talking about, check out the Patreon episode,
Check
which
out.
should be out on Monday, I think.
It's gonna be out on Monday. So we always recorded the weekend after this. So, yeah, check us out on Patreon for $3 a month. You get commentary tracks, the extra episode. You get early access to my other podcast, Madness and the Method. And all that for one small Starbucks coffee a month. So please support us, help us keep the podcast going. Other than that, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, give us a little thumbs up. Tell us in the comments, what did you think? What do you think of the Scream movies? How would you rank them?
Yeah.
If you're listening to us, wherever you're listening or not listening, we are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all the platforms. Give us 5
Not
stars.
watching on YouTube and you can't comment, you can always tweet at us.
Exactly. You can tweet at the _spoilercast. And on Instagram, it's at the
At the
Spoilercast.
Spoilercast.
Yeah.
Yeah. We try to post
Pictures.
fun things,
Yeah.
pictures about what we're actually going to talk about, and all that
I
fun stuff.
I tweet a lot about movies in general, polls and stuff. So check us out there
Yeah.
as well. But that's gonna have to be it for now. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you at least next Thursday when we'll talk about more horror stuff. I'm not sure what,
More
but
horror.
more horror because it's October. So
We'll
thank you for
continue.
listening. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.